Buddy, if you would please find your seat. We have a couple of things that we need to attend, and the first of which is the invocation. And I'm going to, he gave me a proper enunciation, so I say his name correctly. Eric Hausler is our sheriff's chaplain, and he is a chaplain over at the Collier County Jail, and he's a pastor at the Christ King Presbyterian Church. So if you all would rise, please, and we'll have a prayer and then a pledge.
There are two proverbs from the scriptures of the Old Testament that apply to Collier County commissioners. Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. And without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. We're thankful for the many advisors God has brought to this commission. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we bow before you and we call on the name of the Lord. We're thankful, Lord, for where you have brought us to this sweet place to live, a corner of the world that is full of abundance and blessings, and we live in a land of law and order. We thank you for all the first responders and law enforcement personnel, those who work on the front lines in our healthcare and in our business community. We thank you for our local commissioners here today, and we pray for them that you would give them wisdom and an abundance of counselors and many advisors that the plans of this community may succeed. We pray for your blessing on this meeting, that you would guide and direct every conversation and every comment. And we do pray for those still suffering loss from Hurricane Ian, our friends and neighbors who are suffering even today. Oh, Lord, have mercy on them and continue to rebuild this community, that it might be a place that is beautiful and a place where people love to come, that we might enjoy the sweet things you give us in this life. Have mercy on us today, Lord, and bless this meeting, and we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Commissioner Solis, since you're only going to be here a couple more times, how about leading us today?
It'd be my honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everybody, by the way. I'll endeavor to move us along, and I think it probably would be prudent if we set aside the ex parte for until Commissioner Taylor gets here, but we can go ahead and make adjustments and accept the agenda and then afford her the opportunity to adjust should she arise and have something special she would like to do. So you want to lead us off,
Yes,
County Manager?
absolutely. Agenda changes for October 25th, 2022. First item, correct the placement of item 16F1 to now be 16A14. This is a recommendation to authorize the clerk of courts to release a performance bond in the amount of $184,500, which is posted as a guarantee for excavation permit number PL 20200000738 for work associated with tree farm. Next item is an add-on item 5C. This is a tax collector presentation on the return of unused fees and a discussion on Hurricane Ian. Second add-on item is 10A. This is a recommendation to approve a fifth amendment to the long-term lease and operating agreement for the golf course and entertainment complex with CCBSG Naples LLC Big Shots to extend the financing contingency period to April 30th, 2023 to allow for additional financing to be secured. This is being added at Commissioner Saunders' request. Continue item 16D3 to the November 8th, 2022 BCC meeting. This was also continued from September 27th, 2022. This is a recommendation to terminate for convenience of revenue generating agreements 20-7707R and 21-7836 with SSG Recreation Inc. as the concession service provider at Tiger Tail Beach and Barefoot Beach. This is being continued at staff's request. An agenda note. A signed agreement for item 16D4 was received after the agenda was published and will be provided for the court reporter. This is a recommendation to approve the award of request for proposal RFP number 19-7657, Parks Activity Management Software Solution to Active Network LLC, and authorize the chairman to sign the attached agreements. We do have 3 time-certain items. The add-on item 5C from the tax collector will be heard immediately following item 5B. Item 11F will be heard at 10 a.m. This is the Goodwill Partnership with Collier County for renovations and improvements to the East Naples location for the Collier County Community Resource Center. And finally, 11E to be heard no sooner than 2 p.m., which is an update on the rock crushing activities on the property located at the southeast corner of Santa Barbara Boulevard and Davis Boulevard. And as a reminder, we have court reporter breaks set for 10:30 and 2:50.
Okay, thank you. And as I'm contemplating how to move through this, I think before we set the agenda and accept and approve the consent agenda, we should set that aside for now and just do our own ex partes. And any other adjustments that may come, we can set the agenda, but we won't vote on the consent and summary until Commissioner Taylor is in fact here and expressed her ex parte and/or any additional adjustments. And afford her that, if it's okay with the board, I think we should allow her the opportunity to adjust the agenda if she has a last-minute twist. So, Commissioner Saunders, did you get through all that?
I did, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple questions, one on the consent agenda. I don't necessarily want to pull this off the consent agenda, but it's 16F as in Frank 5, dealing with the call center services. I know that's a small item. I think it's a $30,000 plus or minus contract. But I met with the clerk yesterday, and apparently there aren't very many calls that come in. The total, in terms of length, is about 39 hours total, if you total up all of the calls in a one-year period. And I'm wondering if we need to do that. That may be a question for Commissioner Solis in terms of the tourism issue, but I'd like to ask the manager if we could have a little bit of explanation as to whether we really need to have that expenditure. We can pull it off the agenda if you want.
What item was that?
It's item 16F5.
516F5, okay. And I'm okay with pulling it and bringing it up top and having a discussion about it. I was curious with my meeting with the clerk yesterday as well. So if you don't mind, let's pull it up and have a talk. It won't take all that long. Well, it might, but we'll endeavor to not.
Commissioners, that will become item 11G.
Okay. Any disclosures or any other adjustments, sir?
No disclosures and no other adjustments.
Okay. And since he was named in that discourse, Commissioner Solis, good morning.
Good morning. No changes, no disclosures. I would urge maybe we can get Paul Burns here to talk about that issue. I do know that one of the things that came up at the TDC yesterday was that during the hurricane there was a period of time where Faneuil stepped in actually and was fielding calls when our system was down. So I'd like to hear from him because it sounded like that was something that we were lucky to have had happen. So
I'm sure we can wrangle him in to be here.
but other than that, no disclosures and no changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. Commissioner LaCastro.
No disclosures, no changes, but much like Commissioner Saunders, I have something on the consent agenda that I don't want to pull off, but it's a conversation I had with the county manager yesterday concerning 16D5, some payments to pickleball. Don't want to come off as a Scrooge on pickleball. No, it's very popular, but that $670,000 isn't county money, it's taxpayer dollars. And we had a very healthy conversation going forward to really watch the payments that we're making to different organizations and possibly weaning ourselves into smaller numbers so that we can move money around. Those of you that might have followed our budget meeting, you know, every nickel counts, every dollar counts. We want to know where it goes, and we're trying to squeeze, you know, a dollar out of a dime. And going forward in this, you know, new calendar year, I like your renewed emphasis on how we're spending money and not being shy about saying, hey, we know we've always given you a six-figure check, regardless of what organization you are. Please prove to us the use. And also, too, it's possible that it's not Christmas anymore, and we might have to tighten our belts, and you might, as an organization, might have to figure out some ways to supplement. And that's just healthy conversation. That's not squeezing anybody. But, that was one that jumped out at me, and,
What item again, 16D5?
16D5. So not a pull-off, but
A time certain thing that we have to, because, well, I'm with you. And I wouldn't mind having it pulled off and having a discussion as long as we're not, and again, we don't want to be Scrooge.
right.
But it is something that we maybe could have a conversation about.
And the reason I raised it is I wanted to see if there was an appetite up here, or maybe something historically that I'm not aware of as the newest person up here.
And to be fair, not to be not to cut you off, but I don't like, if it's not going to hurt anything, I wouldn't mind continuing the item, bringing it back as an advertised public hearing so that all of the people that think you're being Scrooge, not me, you,
Thanks.
are here to communicate about it, so.
All the taxpayers in the audience, do you want to know where your money's going? Even whether you play pickleball or not, or whatever?
Okay. So we'll continue that item.
Absolutely, Commissioners, and we'll be prepared to talk about not only this one, but all of the various partnerships and concession agreements that we have and what we're planning to do to look at those.
I would
And
like,
it gives them a chance to come forward too and be heard and explain to us, and could be a good news story. Wow, look how much we get for our buck.
well, and that's the thing, that's the other side of it. I don't want to make executive decisions without all parties being present. And that's, I'm
Sounds good.
totally fine, as long as we're not playing with a contractual arrangement. Let's continue it and have a hearing and have a discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that will be an adjustment to the agenda. We'll continue that item 16D5. Okay. Myself, I have no disclosures nor any other additional adjustments to the agenda as is presented. So with that, I'll take a motion for acceptance of.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as adjusted. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign, same sound. So moved. Let's go.
Thank you, Commissioners. That moves us on to item 2B, which is approval of minutes for September 13th, 2022.
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Did we accept the minutes as they're printed? Are we doing the 13th and 27th?
At your pleasure.
Motion makers and seconders. Are you okay with doing them both?
Absolutely.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from both those meetings. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, same sound. So moved.
Commissioners, that moves us on to our proclamation section. The first proclamation, item 4A, was continued from September 27th, 2022. This is a proclamation condemning anti-Semitism in all forms and expressions, condemns all forms of discrimination, prejudice, and hate against any person or group of people, and any call to violence or use of violence for any purpose at any time. This proclamation will be accepted by Mr. David Silverberg.
Good morning, David. Come on up here and get your picture taken. Oop. And then I messed up the happy folder. Give me a sec. Yeah, there's a few people that want to come. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Thank you for coming
Good
this
morning. Good morning.
There's glasses
want
on
us
top
to-
of your head.
You want us to stand still, huh?
Thought you might want to know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Appreciate it. What's that?
If it's, if your permission.
Just a few moments, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. You came over here to shake my hand.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay. Whenever you're ready. Okay. Okay, Commissioners, thank you very, very much for issuing this proclamation and approving the draft that was submitted. My name is David Silverberg. I'm a resident of Collier County, District 2. I want to thank you all for considering it. I want to thank you for passing it. I think it marks a high point for Collier County. I'm well aware that no proclamation is ever going to end hate or bigotry or anti-Semitism. However, I'm hopeful that this will accomplish several things. First, it tells the world that Collier County is an open and welcoming place ready to receive all visitors, guests, and residents. Secondly, it puts Collier County on the record in expressing its commitment to fundamental, patriotic American values like tolerance, nonviolence, and fairness. Third, I hope it'll be a deterrent to anyone considering commission of hate crimes of any sort. This proclamation tells them that vigorous investigation, pursuit, and prosecution of such crimes is a priority for law enforcement in Collier County. Fourth, it's important in an historical context because after a storm, historically, there's been scapegoating and blame of people, even for natural forces. And I can give you historical examples on request. There's simple anger, there's frustration with what's happened, and we know that we'll have this here as we recover. However, with this proclamation, we help prevent that kind of scapegoating and blame that's so unjustified and is such a mar on people's records. And this proclamation may seem to simply restate principles and values that we all share, which is why it's passed unanimously, but sometimes things that seem most self-evident need to be reaffirmed. And I'm very, very pleased to see that Collier County is making that commitment. President George Washington famously wrote that the United States gives, and I quote, "to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance," unquote. This proclamation puts Collier County squarely within that fundamental, patriotic American tradition. I thank you for your service and for your consideration.
As well. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, I will keep this brief. David said
Yeah, I
it
was just
very
gonna say
beautifully.
there was a reason why we put this under proclamation.
I appreciate that.
Forward.
I also appreciate how far our county has come. I'm Rabbi Adam Miller, Senior Rabbi at Temple Shalom. We celebrate 60 years this year, and with 850 households, we're the largest congregation in this area of Southwest Florida. And to recognize that our oldest member, when she came here in the 1950s, got out of the car with her husband and was told by the realtor, "You belong on the East Coast. You're not welcome here in Collier County." To realize how far we have come in that time to be a welcome, opening space is so important for everyone in our community to recognize the leadership of this commission to take on this proclamation and to make it public is valuable for all of us. And I look forward to our community continuing to grow from this, to embrace this message of respect and engagement, and to seeing where we go. So thank you all very much for your leadership on this day.
Thank you. Go ahead. Very good. Okay, let's.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 4B, a proclamation designating October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Collier County, to be accepted by Linda Oberhaus, Chief Executive Officer, the Shelter for Abused Women and Children.
Morning. Troy. I'll try not to mess up yours like I did David's. Yeah, I did. I pulled it right out of the folder and holder of it. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, dear. All by yourself today? How about that? You want us to come down there with you so you don't feel alone? There we go. How about that? You want to say a few words?
Hi, good morning. So I want to thank Commissioner McDaniel and the rest of the Board of County Commissioners for honoring October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. As many of you know, domestic violence is an epidemic not only in this country, but also here in Collier County. An epidemic where 1 in 3 women are impacted by domestic violence during their lifetime, and 1 in 5 teens are also impacted by domestic violence. This past year alone, there were 1,516 calls to 911 as a result of domestic violence, and we know that only half of all victims ever call law enforcement for help, so over 1,500 calls for help. We estimate that domestic violence is costing our community over $30 million a year in resources from law enforcement, the clerk's office, our local hospitals, mental health services, and lost productivity at work. We're very fortunate for all of the partnerships that allow us to do this life-saving work at the shelters to support victim families, including all 3 of our law enforcement agencies, again, the clerk's office, who process all of the injunctions for protection for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking, the Collier County Public Schools, the state attorney's office, and our local hospitals, because without all of these partners, we would not be able to do the life-changing and life-saving work that we do at the shelter. And then just finally, for more information about Domestic Violence Awareness Month and the activities we have planned during October, please visit our website at naplesshelter.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4C is a proclamation designating October 2022 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month, to be accepted by Nicole Chokla, Project Search Instructor, Hunter Klein, Project Search Intern, Aaliyah Lugo, Project Search Intern, Christina Volpicelli, Manager of Strategic Learning, NCH, Matthew Holliday, Director of Advocacy and Government Relations, NCH, Megan Daly, Lee Health Project Search Program Coordinator, Susan Ellinger, Lee County School District Assistant Director of ESE, Michael Nachev, Lee Health Vice President, Government Relations, and Katie Larson, Lee Health Program Manager, Government Relations.
And you always have to watch when the guy with the bow tie is giving you direction. Just so you know. Matthew, by the way, thank you very much for all you do. Good morning, Michael.
Maybe we should balance this out. Hang on. Yeah. Katie, have it over there. There you go.
You guys want to come up here? Right in behind our camera lady? Okay, come on up, sir. Outstanding. Outstanding. Want to say a few words, please? 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 Michael, you doing good? You doing good? You okay? Yes, sir.
Thanks for all you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's my honor. Good morning, sir. Good to see you, by the way.
Good morning, Chairman. Always nice to see you all. Thank you for having us before you today. Project Search is an amazing program. We're very delighted to be a part of it with our good friends at Lee Health and the school districts of Lee and Collier counties. Joining us this morning, I have Mr. Hunter Klein, and he would like to say a few words of thank you. But again, we appreciate your support.
Outstanding.
Hello, gentlemen. I would just like to say thank you to Collier County for their continuous support of Project Search at the NCH Baker Hospital, and I just really appreciate all of the continuous effort to make sure that people with learning disabilities can get a job, an upcoming job, and have a bright future ahead of them. So I thank you for continuous
Thank you,
support.
Hunter. Appreciate you being here. And you may have noticed I was giving Mr. Holliday a little bit of business, but I spent an enormous amount of time with him directly after the storm. He was in our EOC operations center every single day, not wearing a bow tie, and actually doing a tremendous amount of communication and coordination with all of our public services that were helping with the recovery. So thank you.
Unshaven, same clothes for 3 days, right? That's a worker.
I didn't say all that.
Item 4D is a proclamation designating October 2022 as Manufacturing Month in Collier County, to be accepted by Rob Harris, Executive Director, Southwest Regional Manufacturers Association, and Ted Bill, President, Pelican Wire.
Welcome. Thank you. Congratulations.
Tell him he's got a thing hanging off your belt.
Oh, yeah, you got a
In the
piece
back.
of paper in the back.
You're a reserve.
Your pants are reserved.
It says kick me. He put that there.
More ways than one.
Hold it up front.
You sure you guys are friends?
Thank you. Please, if you would.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, for presenting the proclamation, and I thank all of you for recognizing the importance of manufacturing. We appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you and our county residents. My name is Rob Harris. I'm the Executive Director of the Southwest Regional Manufacturers Association. While the SRMA's mission of helping manufacturing and the manufacturers grow has not changed, the talking points tend to change every year. Currently, the hot topic is affordable housing, workforce housing, or now some are calling attainable housing, essentially giving up the idea that our workforce can truly afford housing in the region. There are two sides to that coin. You can give financial incentives to builders to decrease the cost of ownership or rental, or you can pay people more money. Most people want the latter, but that is not always possible in our state's primary industries of tourism, agriculture, and hospitality. Even nurses, which are in high demand, are paid a low starting wage. Advanced manufacturing is the answer. In Collier County, the average wage is nearly $62,000 per year. Students graduating from the iTech Center for Manufacturing Excellence programs are entering the industry with an average starting wage of $43,600 per year, and more importantly, a career path. We need to change the perception of manufacturing. There are 400 businesses classified as manufacturers in Collier County, employing nearly 5,000 residents, and we need to encourage both of those numbers to increase. Today I have with me Ted Bill, the owner and president of Pelican Wire, to share with you the types of impacts a company like his makes in this county.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Commissioners, for this recognition for manufacturing. I'm happy to be here representing manufacturers of Collier County. Pelican Wire Company's been manufacturing products in Naples, Florida since 1976. We were first located over in a small building in J&C Industrial Park, and today we operate out of a 33,000 square foot facility located in Shaw, in White Lake Industrial Park. Many people think of manufacturing as kind of a dirty, heavy labor, rote type of job, but I can assure you that modern manufacturing is anything but. Our employees work in a clean facility, air-conditioned, with modern equipment, with built-in automation. It's really more of a thinking person's work than it is a manual labor type of work. We're not a generator of wastewater. The chemical wastes are all minimal and disposed of professionally. Definitely not what you think of as the traditional Rust Belt manufacturing. Our employees take pride in manufacturing world-class products that support many critical industries, including the military, aerospace, silicone chip manufacturing, and the wind industry. We even make wire that keeps the little piglets warm during the winter. It's pretty cool to make stuff. Our 80 employees are well paid at an annual average income of $86,000. Even our most entry-level positions average over $22 an hour. And I'm proud that our company is actually employee-owned, which means our employees will retire from our business with a significant retirement benefit. And yet, as Rob mentioned, many of our teams struggle with the price of housing in our beautiful Collier County. When I took over the business in 2008, 90% of our employees had a Naples address. Today, that number is less than 55%. We're seeing our employees forced to move further from where they work because of the difficulty in finding housing that is affordable. The result is more pressure on our roadways and infrastructure without the benefit of the tax income. I hope the current and new commission will continue to find solutions for everyone to live in the community in which they work and play. I also want to mention iTech and the Center for Manufacturing Excellence. This unique program allows high school students, college graduates, and full-time workers the opportunity to learn the skills necessary to succeed in today's manufacturing field. If you believe, as I do, that manufacturing is an important part of keeping our economy healthy and diversified, then I hope you will support their efforts to find a permanent home for the Center of Manufacturing Excellence. Pelican Wire is just one example of many manufacturers that bring business diversity to Collier County. I know with Collier County's focus, more manufacturers can reside and grow in our county, providing additional opportunities for our community, our neighbors, and our families. And we can bring balance to the typical iconic industries for which Rob mentioned earlier and Collier County is so famous for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we get a motion to approve the proclamations?
So
Or
moved.
accept the proclamations?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the proclamations as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, same sound, so moved. Commissioner Taylor, good morning.
Thank you very much. I apologize for.
Oh, no, no, no. You will see a reduction in your paycheck upcoming, but we stalled off the acceptance of the agenda and such until you got here and your proclamations. So if you would please indulge with, if you have any other adjustments to the agenda, okay. Ex parte?
Yes, I do. On 17A, I've had emails, and on 17B, I've also had a meeting on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any other adjustments to the agenda
No
then?
other
No,
adjustments.
okay. And then with that, I'll call for, we've already approved the agenda as stated, so I think we're good.
Yes.
We're all set. Let's go
All set.
forth with our presentations then.
Item 5A is a presentation of the Collier County Business of the Month for October 2022 to Valvoline Instant Oil Change. The award will be accepted by Josh Carby, Area Manager, and Eliza Bagendock, Marketing Associate. Also present is Michael Dalby, President and CEO of the Greater Naples Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, there we go.
Congratulations.
Is this the one on Collier right down the road? Or a different one? Oh, all of them? All of them?
Thank you.
Nice.
Come right here into the center. Just a little bit. Very good. If she wishes, she can. You're welcome to say a few words if you would like, young lady.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Very happy to be here and excited for our Naples locations. For those of you who don't know what Valvoline Instant Oil Change is, we're a 15-minute drive-through oil change location that also performs preventative maintenance on your vehicles. And I wanted to call out that this October, we're raising money for the American Cancer Society, and I know that's very close to a lot of our hearts. So if you stop into one of our locations, you can round up your invoice. I did bring a couple of coupons. I was told to bring 10, so please be sparing with me. Just kidding. I have a website that I can direct you all to, but I appreciate being here and thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Item 5B is an update on the status of Hurricane Ian recovery efforts in Collier County. Mr. Dan Summers, your Director of Emergency Management, will present.
Commissioners, good morning. Good to be with you. Lots of information to convey to you today. And I just want to first mention to you that I have put on your desk this morning a little binder of FEMA and state fact sheets for maybe might help your aides with any other questions that may be forthcoming. An enormous amount of information with programs, plans, policies, and procedures. So I'll leave that for you for reference, and as these other guides come forward, other fact sheets come forward, we'll be sure and forward that to you. Once again, as was mentioned this morning, our thoughts and prayers for those who have been so heavily impacted by this event. Every day is challenging, and we have a beautiful place to live, work, and play, and I hope I can do justice to all the division directors and managers, field managers, and teams who've been working so hard to put Collier County back to pre-disaster conditions. And by no stretch are we ready for any victory lap, because we have members in our community that are impacted, but we certainly want to recognize the small successes, the bites that we're taking every day to get Collier County put back together. And that's a real tribute to your directors and administrators and field personnel. And again, I know how hard they're working out there, so hopefully I can do justice to their report today and their progress. Moving forward, no substantial changes in our damage assessment. Those numbers really remain pretty stable at this time. And again, as you always expect with flood conditions, there might be some hidden damages that are not available to us. But nevertheless, this gives us a great baseline for which we continue to move forward with planning and FEMA discussions. So no substantial changes in damage assessment. Our recovery goals and objectives still have not changed. And job one is to support our neighbor and support our survivors. And we're certainly working on all types of resources and avenues associated with housing. We're going to talk more about that shortly. Our debris removal efforts address flood losses for our infrastructure. Lots of infrastructure to be cleaned, maintained, and repaired so we can keep water moving. Transportation, again, our signal activities, our roadways, and right-sizing our needs to the entire community. And that really is kind of a daily juggling activity that we're doing. While the EOC is not active, doesn't mean that we're not communicating, that we're not virtual with the plans, policies, procedures, activities that we have ongoing. A reminder, and again, you all stressed this at the last update about electrical restoration. Both FP&L and Lee Co-op report to us that they have 100% restoration of what they can connect to. And again, we provided this diagram, and in many cases where you see the electric meter, that electric meter is the responsibility of the homeowner, and therefore FP&L must have that system in good working order and inspected, and Jamie French has covered that with you all in the past. So yes, do we still have outages? Yes, we do, but again, it requires a thorough electrical inspection or electrical repair, and Growth Management Division has worked through that along with Rich Long and his team. Kind of long-winded here, but activities ongoing with the Emergency Operations Center. Our Collier County EMS folks have been most generous and continue to provide a little bit of relief for Lee County EMS to spell those crews a little bit, doing a little bit of support in Lee County. That's not unusual, as that both Lee County EMS and Collier EMS work together on areas with our border. We continue to start the demobilization process of about 80 state mission requests. And we continue to work to, we have asked the state rather, to make sure that we get some additional caseworkers to support our nonprofits, to address human service needs, to help navigate them through the various relief programs. And frankly, I want that effort to come on strong. as we only had one disaster assistance center supported by FEMA. We are going to share with you some strategies to make that site mobile and to address some geographic relocation of that disaster assistance center. But a lot of folks need that opportunity for a one-on-one. We are aggressively hunting for a disaster assistance center. We need about 3,000 square feet, and we're working on some ideas with that so that individuals can come in, work with our nonprofit agencies, work with FEMA, work with the state to address some mid and long-term issues. If you remember, during Hurricane Irma, we had Salvation Army had the old Office Depot across the street that we rapidly helped get them set up in that location, and they worked tirelessly there for almost 2 years to address that particular casework. Last weekend, sir.
Don't we still have a shelter open?
We do have a shelter open.
Can we have a look at utilizing that facility? Is it in a proximity that would work?
I think geographically it's not in a good location. I think to get a little closer to our East Naples and our coastal areas and our flooded impact areas, as opposed to North Collier, plus the I think having reasonable cat access might be of
Well, it's got
better.
reasonable cat access. It's I'm not going to debate it right
No,
now.
no.
It just popped in. I didn't realize we were looking for this. So
Yes, sir.
Commissioner
Understood.
Taylor, you want to respond to that, or
And that's late breaking. We're working with the county manager's office on that. You all were engaged with us to some degree. We did a lot of work to get an additional push of shelf-stable meals, tarps, and cots to a lot of nonprofit partner agencies and relief efforts. We continue, our special needs clients are still being tracked and looked after. Our Hurricane Information Hotline, Michael Brownlee and his team responded again to about 5,500 calls and still maintain some call tracking in the areas of that you would expect, debris and other FEMA questions as well. So all of that is going well, but quite busy. A reminder of the recovery programs that are out there, and I think this is important to continue to stress to individuals to register with FEMA, and I have some statistics for you here momentarily. But we have our nonprofits, Red Cross, Salvation Army, other non-governmental organizations, NGOs as we refer to them, doing casework for those that are displaced. We are working our public assistance, which is our government reimbursement. Folks need to continue to stay in touch with FEMA. Many times they'll be referred to the SBA. Don't give up on that process. Continue to work through that. Return the phone calls. Do the follow-up necessary with FEMA and SBA. The National Flood Insurance continues to work immediate disbursements. Also, there is a self-reporting tool for damage assessment on our website. Crisis Cleanup still has opportunities. That's a crowd-funded, crowd-sourced area of support for cleanup and emergency restoration. That Crisis Cleanup website continues to operate. We have resources in there, and individuals can seek assistance, and that has worked well over many years. Our human services folks continue to work HUD funding opportunities for emergency repair, as well as our volunteer agency coordinators still working with national disaster teams in the area. FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers handles the Blue Roof program. The requests for Blue Roof in Collier County have dropped off substantially. I think there are less than a dozen installations, but I had an opportunity to fly over in Punta Gorda and Lee County, and it's 100% Blue Roof. So we're very fortunate in that perspective that our demand here is low. We want to thank the generosity of our community. The Community Foundation in Collier County hit about the $4 million mark in local contributions. That allows immediate disbursement to our nonprofit organizations. And as I have said before, giving local is getting it done locally. We really appreciate that. We still are reminding folks we don't want donated goods. We appreciate the generosity, but donated goods don't work well for us. They clog up a lot of resource and a lot of work activity, and if we have something specific, we'll ask for that, or if an agency has something specific, we'll certainly work with them. And again, caseworker is an issue that we've requested of the state. We want to get these folks in to give some relief and support to United Way, Red Cross, Catholic Social Ministries, those groups that are doing a lot of that one-on-one family assistance. Our other neighbors, our other partners, we want to continue to mention them because they have all been critical players, whether it's our Collier Keys, our hospitals, Harry Chapin Food Bank, Meals of Hope, Daily Bread. So again, the financial resources going into these organizations tremendously help their ability to deliver and help folks get back on their feet. FEMA assistance, the FEMA 800 number, 1-800-621-FEMA is still readily available. FEMA, remember, does not impact, or FEMA relief funding does not impact any other program that you receive. It is not, doesn't affect your taxes. It doesn't affect any other programs, your insurance. So if you have that need, please don't hesitate to reach out to FEMA. If a FEMA inspector calls, I can't stress enough to return that call. And now there is a YouTube site. All you have to do is search disaster assistance, and you can get some video coaching on YouTube for your FEMA reimbursement and FEMA assistance process. I think this is a little telling in terms of how many folks in Collier County have participated. My last report to you, 17,253 registrants. Now in Collier County, 27,017 folks have registered with FEMA. Individual housing assistance that FEMA has dispersed, my last report to you was $15.9 million. As of yesterday, they have dispersed $30.7 million. Individual and housing assistance rather was $10 million, now up to $21 million. And other needs assessment, other needs assistance is now at $9.8 million. So a lot of funds being put in those that will, hopefully this will help them to their pathway to recovery. I mentioned the Disaster Recovery Center that we have at Veterans Park. Veterans Park is a polling site, and we have to, therefore we have to relocate. There's not enough room to do both. So we have come up with this strategy, which has been supported by FEMA and the state. On or about November the 6th, we'll have to move that site to the museum here at the government complex. We will run that from November the 7th through the 13th. We think that will be a little more geographically helpful. And then our second home after the 13th will be Donna Fiala Eagle Lake Park. And that has enough square footage for our FEMA folks to work and continue registration there. And that will run until November the 14th. And I do want to ask you at the end of this presentation for a nod or some guidance, as I think that should be extended. We have just not had the geographical spacing of these disaster recovery centers I think we should have, and I'm going to ask you for your support for an extension. We are also getting, at long last, getting a FEMA mobile unit, and that we have a schedule, a 5-day increment schedule to get the mobile unit to Mackerel Park and Marco, Copeland, as well as Immokalee Health. Now remember, we have had FEMA boots on the ground canvassing communities. They've hit the heart of Naples. They have hit mobile home parks. They've been to Isle of Capri and continue to canvass. And when they canvass, they also register. But in many cases, these mobile units allow our residents to ask questions or make some clarifications on their applications as well. So we want to get these mobile teams in here, and on Monday I'll get another report of contacts that the DSA folks have had, the boots on the ground, canvassing neighborhoods and communities for FEMA registration. So again, very important to get that work done. FEMA activated the TSA, the Transitional Sheltering Assistance, and that is a program that we used during Irma pretty successfully, but this time our hotels are so heavily impacted. So there have been less than 30 placements into a hotel room at this point under FEMA, but let me rephrase that, under 30 placements within Collier County. They can place individuals if they're willing to relocate to other areas. So again, not as much hotel availability as we had hoped, mostly because so many of them had been hit so hard. SBA continues to work their housing loan programs. And STEP, many of you had heard about STEP, which was a FEMA-funded initiative for sheltering, temporary, and essential power. And that was just basically ensuring 4 walls and a dry roof. That program has not been funded since 2018, and it confirmed yesterday that FEMA will not be reactivating the STEP program, at least for this disaster or in the foreseeable future. Our debris removal folks have done an awesome job, and again, certainly a different benchmark and a different environment from Irma. 575,638 cubic yards, 11,000 plus loads, and 150 hauling units, and a lot of work going on. And certainly, we haven't been able to. This doesn't happen overnight, but I think it's on and our 2 key vendors are here today, but they have been working tirelessly to keep things moving. October the 19th, we finally got some guidance from FEMA on multifamily debris removal. That was a little painful to get some of that approval through to FEMA. And I think what is very challenging for us is that at the 10,000-foot view, our A zone, our immediate coastal zone, was catastrophic damages, but inland Collier County did not have catastrophic damages. So we kind of had to force FEMA to write the rule book there, and hopefully making some good progress on that reimbursement. Haul out to the Okeechobee landfill began on the 22nd. The recycling centers that have been opened for yard waste, and the ongoing efforts for cleanup at parks and schools. And the public portal at the bottom is quite amazing, and Carrie and Dr. Yelmez and their entire team have a really unique dashboard there to show the progress that they are making. And you see the pictures here of the Resource Recovery Park as well as Wiggins Pass. The view and the magnitude of those operations is just really hard to fathom unless you're on the ground.
And that is the access to the dashboard?
That is correct.
Okay. That's a wonderful tool that folks can have access to know exactly what's going on.
And what's amazing, it really does kind of show the forward progress and lets all of us understand the magnitude.
Well, I mean, your report here says 575,000. That was 3 days ago, and this morning when I looked, it's 630,000. So
we don't let them sleep, Commissioner. We
understand,
keep them rolling,
as it should be.
We're with an iron fist. Again, moving forward, and again, hats off to the debris management team, Carrie and Dr. Yelmez. The positive feedback from the public is here. It is a challenge. Sometimes things don't go right, and maybe a mailbox gets knocked over or something, but they're working very hard and being very customer-centric in this particular effort, and it's great to see the public provide some positive feedback on these efforts. Communication, coordination, collaboration continues to be part of their success. Our challenges, of course, with some of our FEMA approvals, illegal dumping always shows up. And then you've got insurable losses where folks have stopped carrying items to the street and their insurance has brought a dumpster or something to the driveway, and a lot of self-collection going on as well. But again, very much a moving target, if you will, associated with the debris. I believe you all wanted a minute with our contractors, so Matt and Ralph are here from Ashbrit and Tetra Tech, and I believe you'd like for them to come forward. So, Matt?
Good.
Good morning, Commission. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Matt Gearden. I'm a Senior Vice President for Ashbrit. I stood before some of you here during Hurricane Irma as well, during that catastrophe. we have to stop meeting on these types of occasions. I have quite a few family and friends that live in this community, so I take a lot of pride in recovering from Collier County. One of the things I'd like to mention to note is after Irma, it was about 90 days for us to get the county back to where it looked pretty. I'm pretty confident we're going to have this county looking very pretty before Thanksgiving. However, we do always have a phrase that we used in Irma. I'm not sure who coined it. No pile left behind. But we'll continue to collect debris as long as you all need. We're going to stay here and give the level of customer service that you offer to your residents, which is in 20 years of doing this, your customer service to residents is second to none. Collier has always been my flagship client, as I call it. Yeah, with your team, your people, you're proactive. It's always a blessing and pleasure to work and come visit Collier County. So I look forward to any questions you guys have. I appreciate the opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ralph Natal. I'm the Director of Operations for Tetra Tech. We have been your contractor for technical assistance and disaster debris monitoring since Wilma, so going back 17 years. We currently have 200 local employees employed to assist in the response. That is something that comes down from the Stafford Act through FEMA. It's a requirement of the reimbursement. I will tell you, I have a unique experience. I'm actually a resident in a Class A flood zone with 10-foot surge going through my home while trying to respond to this event. So when I talk about the things that I've noticed, or a couple bullets here that come from my perspective, they're more from the residential side with a big subject matter expertise. I've been through 300 of these over 17 years, so I'm very aware of the difficulties of these responses. I will say that the county is one of the most prepared counties in Florida and maybe in the country. Navigating this book that you just got is very difficult. There are certain situations that have occurred that that have been handled seamlessly. A result of disaster debris planning that has gone back since I can recall 10 years ago or more. Preparation from the county has been exceptional in their ability to respond. They're also your leaders are very bold. What Dan said, navigating some of these reimbursement issues seemed seamless. It is not. It is not for your neighboring communities. It was led from this community. Again, very bold decisions, a lot of calls, a lot of coordination to get through some of those issues. It's second to none, really, on this event. And third, I would say from the community standpoint, I've seen a recovery that is typically 2-3 months for residents to get the majority of the debris to the curb post-flood. I've seen that expedited here. With that said, there's a lot to be done. I know the majority of the debris is coming off the streets by Thanksgiving, but there's still residents that are waiting on insurance and also support to get that debris to the curb. It is not like Irma or Wilma, where it's vegetative debris that's being brought to the curb. That's a little easier to do. This is ripping out drywall and heavy things in your household, so it's a lot different. So that's my perspective.
Appreciate all you're doing. Thank you. Good luck with your own.
Ralph, your phone. Should have kept that phone. May have been some hotline numbers in there.
His wife's telling him what he needs to bring home for supper tonight.
Drywall, probably, hopefully not. Again, great work by the team, and again, lots of coordination calls and lots of discussion, and we appreciate all our partner efforts.
1 second.
Yes, sir.
I misunderstood. Commissioner Solis wants to say something.
Pardon me.
We're on the debris removal portion. The Wiggins Pass debris removal site, I've just had a lot of questions, who, what, and where.
Okay.
In other words, I guess just to confirm that it's Ashbrook that's moving it in there, that's not really part of the question, but the question is, what is going in there, and then where's it going to go?
Okay. Carrie, let me ask Carrie Hodgkin to come up, Director of your Solid Waste, let her comment on the clarification.
I've just had a lot of questions in terms of what's going in there? Is it the same like Irma, or is it different material? What's going in there?
Good morning, Commissioners. Carrie Hodson, Director for Solid Waste for the record. The construction and demolition material that you heard our contractors talk about, what's being put at the curb, all of the drywall, all of the furniture, all of those items are going in there. They're crushed, and then they're transported out to Lake Okeechobee landfill, which is what you saw on the slide that commenced on the 22nd. And we're available for any questions that your constituents might have that we can help with.
Okay. And that's, so it's just a construction material, it's not vegetation debris as well?
It has a small amount of vegetation debris. There's not nearly as much in that area. That is getting gathering most of the debris from that area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Our tourism folks played a vital role in the EOC operations as well, and Paul has been, his team has been reporting constantly, and you see now that we're up to 73 facilities that are open and operating. Still have a couple of folks that are offline. That is down from to 28 from 39. No return to operation yet, is now 5. And imminent repairs, hopefully imminent opening, is now down to 9. And you see the percentages there. So again, we're appreciative of the information that Paul's team has provided.
Don't go away yet. Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, ma'am.
In relation to that, have we, and maybe this is a commission decision, maybe this is not, but we are still under a state of emergency, are we not?
We are.
Okay. And given that we have our neighbors to the north that are in huge trouble. And I just listened today where Florida State is sending in mental health workers. They have no housing. Our housing is very lean, so to speak. Are we doing any kind of, requesting any kind of the hotels for priorities for these emergency workers so that we can keep this mission not only here but in Lee County moving?
I would say from an EOC policy perspective, that's not anything that we have addressed before. Paul is here and Mike could comment. A lot of the hoteliers have been very sensitive to supporting first responders and others, but in terms of anything official, we have not been down that path before. And maybe if Paul would like to come up and just mention the cooperation that we've had from the hoteliers. So on an official capacity, no ma'am, we have not.
Okay.
Good morning. For the record, Paul Behrens, Director of Tourism, and yes, indeed, thank you for that question. We have had constant dialogue through our hoteliers. Their priority, they know, is to get the destination up on its feet through contractors, displaced residents. That is really their priority. That is also why tourism, we have stood down on any marketing, any social media. Really, it is really readying our own home, if you will. Our call center, which we'll talk in a little while from now, is actually engaging with all of these hotels on a regular basis to identify any of those blocks, those holes. There are literally 5 rooms here, 10 here. Fortunately, as we start seeing on a daily basis, the resumption of business and fixing up rooms, our number of available rooms is now coming back online. So it makes us a little more excited than only seeing 4 or 5 rooms. Now we're starting to see 10, 100 blocks. Our focus is regional. We recognize the impact in Lee County is exceptional, and as well, we know that those first responders and contracted vendors need to tap into our hotels. So to answer the question, yes, the hotels are very, very focused on making sure that Southwest Florida is readied, and that's their priority of putting heads in beds.
So there's a soccer tournament coming in 2 weeks, and there's 500 people that have made reservations in these hotels. What are you doing about that?
Yeah, actually, it's 371 rooms that are blocked over 2 nights. One of the fine balances, because that's a couple of weeks from now, fine balance as we start to see the hotels coming back online is, yes, we absolutely agree. We need to put heads in beds, and the contractors need to be the priority. Those room blocks are already reserved. That is up to the hotels to manage that. But at the same time, we also know that the county's responsibility is also the economic impact of those that are very much suffering. That is the hotels, the attractions, the ancillary businesses, if you will, that basically rely on tourism through the economic puzzle. So it is 2 nights at the most. It's 371 rooms that we've been able to identify, and they're spread across many hotels. I think 30 rooms is the max in most the hotels. But really, we're not in the operations of the hotel. That is up to them to manage how they execute that. And we do not, as a county, really have the legal authority to tell them otherwise. But truly, the hotels are coming back online. Again, yesterday, I was really excited to see some of the blocks that were coming up, that we had rooms of 100 rooms or 200 rooms. In our conversation yesterday with TDC and Amanda down at JW Marriott, tremendous amount of rooms that are back online. So I think things are readying themselves quickly here.
Without any intervention by government.
That is correct. That is correct.
So if you have 371 rooms in 2 weeks, who are you displacing? Because what I'm understanding from the hoteliers is they're getting a lot of pressure from the CVB about all they do is want to make money, and you did book these hotel rooms, and they're saying we can't throw out the emergency workers, and that comes from your office.
So we do not have the authority to intervene with the operations of the hotel. The market conditions, if you will, pretty much any sporting event that has happened between now or between the storm until late November, early December, has been self-remedying, and they have canceled. This one particular event, I believe the dates are the 11th and 12th of November. Between now and then, we are starting to see that opening of those room blocks. I feel like right now, we're seeing a migration of a lot of contractors finishing their role. They're leaving. That's why we're starting to see these blocks open up. I don't believe that we're going to see what we have in the last 30 days, which is zero occupancy. I believe that we will be able to market remedy and absorb those responders that are coming into town. Again, crystal ball is not always as clear as you hope it to be, but truly the CVB has not been in the position of forcing anything upon hotels.
So maybe that's a discussion we don't have now, we have later in the meeting, whether this commission wants to take a position whereby we reserve X amount of rooms in each hotel for survivors who do not have homes, families who do not have homes, contractors who are coming in, people like that, because they don't all bring their own housing. So, not right now, of course. But
address that, or?
Well, I would. I think that the issue really comes down to whether or not we want to take some action relating to an event at the sports park. I mean, that's really, if you're talking about the 371 rooms and whether or not we should intervene somehow, and whether or not those hotel rooms are going to be reserved for some other event. I mean, I understand the concern, but I'm very hesitant, and I agree with Paul that we shouldn't get into the business of the hotels. And I mean, if the hotels have rooms, they want to fill them up, they should do that. We can't dictate to the hotels who they're going to give the rooms to.
Respond to that?
I don't even think we should
okay,
go there.
so in terms of helping out Lee County, who maybe have the opportunity to have some kind of economic activity in Lee County and they need additional homes, we're just, or additional rooms for an event, we're just going to let the have this solved on a hotel-by-hotel basis.
I think so.
Yeah, with little to no government intervention.
Thank you.
And
Commissioner Saunders.
Chairman, I agree with Commissioner Solis and with you, Mr. Chairman. I haven't received any phone calls concerning that particular issue. We certainly don't want to have a discussion of that import without public notice and all of that.
Correct.
But my gut feeling is that we should not get involved in that discussion at all, as has been advised by the experts that are handling that.
Well, and it gets out in front of a federal mission on top of it. We still haven't solidified the housing mission that FEMA's coming forward with. It's inevitable that they're coming forward with one, but we don't need to lean out over our skis on something such as this on a reactionary basis. So let's, are we all okay with that? Let's move on.
Thank you.
Commissioners, something here really kind of unique and different this time and new from our last presentation is to really make sure that builders, contractors, restoration contractors, so many of these high-rise buildings in Collier County have what's referred to as a bi-directional amplifier. And it takes our law enforcement, fire, and EMS dispatch signal into the building. As you know, radio waves are not friendly with concrete. And so we have a number of these bidirectional amplifiers in high-rise buildings that have been impacted or have been cut off. And if at any point these systems are reactivated without coordination with our Public Safety Radio Division, which is now within Emergency Management, they could very potentially lock out our public safety dispatch in that area for police, fire, and EMS. And there's new statute for this. Nathan Hinkle is our communications manager now working within emergency management. And the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, puts Collier County, we're the license holder for that radio system. It is very complex, very detailed, and we just want to remind builders and contractors not to reactivate those radio systems without coordinating with us. We could get into co-channel interference and literally shut down a mile or so radius of public safety communications. So
who's in charge of that?
Nathan Hinkle is our communications manager.
We know where all those are.
We know where they are.
So we have a finger on all of those things so that we don't have that issue.
In theory, we have our finger on them. A lot of times, if they're not working closely with the fire marshal during a reinspection or a repair rather. So Nathan and the fire marshal are working on that. That is a life safety code issue. We just want to remind contractors, restoration contractors, to give us a call, and we will work through the coordination of the proper frequencies, because that is quite an interesting market that has opened up due to state statute. But if it's done incorrectly, it will dramatically impact our radio system.
It would be my vote that we have a finger on them sooner than later.
Well, and
so
again, some of these
announcing it
show
at a
up
public meeting
and registered, and some of them do not. So we've got to get a handle on that.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. Coastal Zone team, again, a couple of great pictures here of the work that they've been doing, the debris on the beach that you're readily familiar with, the beach tilling efforts in order to help grab some of that debris, some of those dangerous objects, and our thanks to the Coastal Zone folks. A great illustration here, the tilling that's been done at Barefoot Beach, Naples beaches, working on to get the debris out of the water itself, and been using drones in order to help identify. I know that there's some reports in Lee County of still an enormous number of cars in the water, so a lot of work left to be done in Lee and Charlotte County with the vehicles that floated. Stockpiles of debris been removed from Loudermilk as well as Horizon, Barefoot Beach, and still some piles that are being worked on. And again, the ongoing cleanup effort of anything that washes up. And again, I think we're going to see debris wash up here for some time, and our team is definitely on board monitoring that. Stormwater folks, the small dots here are areas of work that they're observing, that they're monitoring, looking at some of the non-tidal waterways to get inspected. They have purchase orders and permit processes underway. It's also a requirement that we work through the Natural Conservation and Resource folks. They typically are a firewall, if you will, for some of the FEMA reimbursement. We have to go through a process, but NCRS hasn't been funded for any debris removal in at least over a decade, but the statute still requires that we work through them for FEMA reimbursement on canals, et cetera. Stormwater Capital working on derelict vessels, and again, we like to kind of make sure there's a distinction between displaced vehicles and derelict vessels, derelict vessels and displaced vessels. Derelict is really confirmed after 45 days of intent for trying to make contact with the owner. After that, or hopefully before that, many folks have rescued their own vessels. That's a coordination effort with the Collier Sheriff's Office, FWC, in some cases DEP, along with state recovery contractors to get those vessels out of the waterway.
So can I, Mr.
Sure.
Chair?
Sure.
I'm getting a lot of these questions.
Okay.
So really the recovery of those vehicles by the county or the state or the federal government, whoever's going to do that, we have to essentially wait 45 days before any of that starts happening unless the owner comes and gets it.
Unless, that's correct, is my understanding, and Beth is here, she might want to elaborate on that just a little bit, but for clarity, so the owner is notified, and the Sheriff's Office and FWC pull hull registrations, make notification. They give that vessel owner maybe up to 45 days. Certainly if there's a spill or a potential for spill, they're escalating that. And once it becomes derelict, then it becomes a state mission to get that vessel removed.
It's not a waiting process. FWC is actively involved in contacting
That's
with
correct.
us, coordinating with us, with the owners in order to move it forward. But the owner actually, if I understand correctly, the owner actually has to declare it derelict before the state will step up.
Correct.
That process involves probably at least 45 days.
That's my understanding, correct. Again, I think if there's imminent spill or fuel leak, those issues are obviously escalated. Beth?
Hi, Beth Johnson, Capital Project Planning. If a privately titled boat, car, watercraft, whatever, if the owner wants to relinquish the ownership of that, they can reach out to FWC, sign a form that indicates that they would like to claim derelict. So then they'll come and collect it.
And to do that, that doesn't saddle them with any responsibility for cleanup or removal of it or anything?
I can't speak to that.
Okay. I just wonder if we can have a very clear message on that, just because, you know, I'd hate for people not to be just starting the process off as fast as it could be started because of some reservations that somehow they would be responsible for some damages or something.
We'll chase that down and we'll put that information out.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Taylor, did you have a question? I saw you hitting your light down there.
I remember there was an abandoned vessel that stayed on the beaches of the city. I think it was the city. It was a sailboat, and it was more than a year we had fun with that, trying to figure out who was going to take it off, and then there was a delay and things like that.
Vanderbilt Lagoon.
How is this going to be something that we can get done in a quicker fashion? Is Florida Fish and Wildlife mobilized, or who's actually removing these?
We have a contractor that's standing by. Again, at the end of the 45-day period, the contractor will be ready to start removing those vessels. However, the contractor has told us that their experience is within 30 days, they typically see 90% of boats, vehicles, watercraft removed, either by the owner or the insurance company.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Wastewater, the entire team there continues to carefully monitor. This report has not changed too much, primarily associated with the 42 electrical panels that were flooded out. That'll take some time. They're working on quotes and expedited install. Mercino contractor efforts, working 30 stations with flow restored with bypass pumps. 60 pumps were installed during the event, and Southern Sanitation continues to pump out as needed some of these locations. But a lot of work going on there, but I think the good report there is steady state and steady conditions there as they work through bringing these other stations back online. Road and Bridge team has done an awful lot of work, as you would imagine, with arterials being swept. Debris removal operations going on as well. Landscape trees, a fair amount of those were downed with the smaller root systems were downed. 95% of those have been picked up. Secondary Southwest Collection System debris clearing continues, and landscape irrigation, we want to get those, protect that investment in the landscaping, so 99% of those controls, irrigation controls, et cetera, back online. Couple of things here that I am requesting some support. I do think it's relevant to ask FEMA and the state for an extension on two items. First of all is to ask for an additional 30 days for category A and B for 100% reimbursement. Again, just due to the magnitude of the event. Critical needs, it's that stipend that goes to families. That expires on October the 29th. And again, my rationale for that is with only one disaster assistance center, disaster recovery center rather, provided by FEMA, I really do think that critical needs assistance funding still needs to be continued for many families. And the last day to file for individual assistance is November the 29th. And I think that too should be extended. And if you are in agreement with those concepts, I can handle that. If you so support that, I can handle that as an internal request with the understanding that I had board approval to request those extensions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve all three of those
Second.
requested items.
Been moved and second. I seconded it. It's been moved and seconded that we approve those things and wholeheartedly agree, by the way. So
thank you for that support.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And my last comment here is the request for public assistance, and that's for nonprofits, eligible nonprofits, other governmental units. You're required to file for FEMA assistance by December the 2nd, and we have followed up with all of our governmental units and nonprofits to make sure that request for public assistance, it's really a bookmark to say, hey, I'm an eligible candidate for FEMA reimbursement, and I wanted to put that on the record for any of our nonprofits in particular or governmental units that have not filed with FEMA that December 2nd is your last day to do that. That's all I have. Again, my sincere thanks to the entire team and their hard work. And we're calling on our partner agencies every day, and they're certainly stepping up well. It's not an easy road to navigate and recovery, but everyone is giving us their best, and I thank you for that.
And as are you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, don't go away. I'm lit up over here. So
yes, sir.
We're going to go to Commissioner Taylor first.
Oh, no.
Are you all set?
Yeah,
Okay, well, good. Commissioner LaCastro.
I just have some comments and some positive shout outs to sort of round out the conversation. To the team, the debris team, our county and our contractors, I think what's been most impressive, and some citizens maybe don't fully realize this, this wasn't Irma. As we were saying, it was a water event, not a wind event. And the difference was, and this is where I think we're so impressed with the great work that you all have done as a team is, if you're picking up piles of palm fronds like what we were doing for Irma, that's a lot different than picking up everything somebody owns in a pile in their house, or appliances and furniture and things like that. So as we were saying, I've seen in my own district, truck doesn't go very far when it's taking everything that's been inside the house and is now on the curb. That's much different than a few tree limbs and some palm fronds and that sort of thing. So my hat's off to all of you. There are citizens who, send us notes all the time and don't think it's going fast enough. But I think if they were seeing it from our perspective, it actually has been very impressive. And you've done a great job, I think, triaging and prioritizing the right areas to make sure that, we're hitting some of those hardest hit areas first. Because if you've lost everything in your house and you're there every day taking out the drywall and putting it out on the curb, it's really an emotional thing to see that pile sitting there for days. And it's a very positive thing to see that pile gone. And I've heard that from citizens. Wow, today was a great day. The pile got picked up. And although it was everything they owned, they were so happy and thankful, to see it gone. So this wasn't Irma. It's a much bigger operation, but I think with a much faster result, as you have said, which has been great. Second, I wanted to, maybe this is something, that could be controversial, but I give a shout out to FPNL and LCEC. Power was restored very quickly. You could always do it better. But from our vantage point, sitting in the EOC, nobody was sitting on their hands. And as I've told a lot of citizens in my town hall meetings, when we have a wind event like Irma and a pole falls over and a wire snaps, it's a little bit easier to get a crew out there to put the pole up, connect the wire, and then everybody has power back. But when you have things that have been sitting in 6 feet of seawater and an entire grid is out, that's a totally different fix. And I know from my standpoint, and I hope I speak for all the commissioners up here, we did have points of contact of some key folks from both utility companies, and they weren't asleep at the wheel either. And although, I told some citizens who had no damage and they were screaming about their power, and I didn't mean to be sarcastic, but when I've seen such damage in other areas where people have lost everything, if all you had was no power, buy more candles, because people were working really hard, to restore your power. Paul, I really want to give you a positive comments as well, you and your team. You also slept in the EOC basically around the clock, and I did reach out to you for a different issue than what we're talking about here. I agree with my colleagues. I don't think government intervention deciding, who should get what hotel rooms, but I had a different issue, and you know what the issue was. I wanted to separate rumor from fact about what a hotel was doing, and your sense of urgency was amazing, how literally you got back with me. You had spoken to the leadership. We got down to the crux of the situation, and I really appreciated that in the middle of a huge storm where I know you were, juggling a lot of things. Lastly, I just would like to talk and give some positive comments to our team that controls the weirs and water movement. And so I reached out to Trinity and Jamie, and a whole bunch of folks. There's an education that probably needs to continue after the storm for some citizens who, sent us emails that they were experts on weir movement. And the reality is, it is a much more complicated system than you just need to get out here and open up the weir. You're asleep at the wheel. As Trinity says, it's more of a domino effect. And we do understand how to open weirs and when to keep them closed. And opening one might lower the water level in your front lawn, but it could flood out an entire, community. And I think at some point down the road after the hurricane, some sort of education out there, either on our county website or in presentation here, just making us as smart as we can be so we can answer citizens. But it's important to understand, if you have water in your swale, the county hasn't failed you. That's what swales are for. So we got a lot of notes from water experts who had wet grass and a dry house and thought the sky was falling. But thanks for fielding all of those phone calls and helping to educate some citizens. And then in some cases, people did bring things to our attention, whether it was a road that was washed out that we actually could do something about. So, it wasn't that we were ignoring everything, but thanks to the team back there and all the folks that you represent who are controlling the movement of water, I think very successful, during a really difficult time when we saw an awful lot of water, a lot more than what we saw for Irma. So thank you.
My points are a little more pointed. I want to know if and when the housing mission is going to be established with FEMA and what the update is, and what your perception of what that mission is going to in fact look like.
Sir, a very, very difficult response. I know that FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are on the ground evaluating both group sites and the possibility for individual trailer RV deployment to people's homes. This is a difficult challenge to address. So first of all, FEMA owns that mission in its entirety. So the information that they glean, the clients that they refer, the trailers that they deploy are totally within their purview. And much of that information, if not all of that, is privacy protected information. Now, an arrival date, I do not have an arrival date. I know that statewide, the number between 5,000 and 6,000 trailer deployments is being discussed. When we will get those, who will be eligible, I still don't have that information. Remember, there is a trailer deployment possibility that goes to the individual residents. There is a trailer deployment that FEMA prefers to use as a group site. In other words, using existing, use existing mobile home parks. And then finally, if you remember the Hurricane Charlie mobile home park up near the airport where a group site was established. We have given the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA all of the land resources or options that we know might be candidate locations.
We have done that inventory because we talked about that 2 weeks ago.
We have shared that.
Okay.
We have provided that information
Okay.
to those groups. And again, I think what you need to be aware of is that FEMA has often had numerous legal challenges with temporary housing. So
Yeah.
you will find them very guarded in everything from ADA compliance
Well,
to
the reality,
electrical.
and I don't mean to interrupt you,
Right.
but the public's about done hearing that.
Understand that.
There's
We are
there's no argument that there are people that are displaced.
Yes.
And so maybe if this board wants to do something, maybe it's something that we can have a look at from a community standpoint to be able to assist with the process. I remember 2 weeks ago when I was meeting with our county manager, we're close to 3,000 homes that were damaged, some of them severely. You had it on your list here today. And so we all know of the difficulties that comes with the housing mission. We all heard about those. Or you keep putting your finger up. You want me to quit?
Don't ask me that question.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, please. No, I'm just reminding you, I do want to make.
Yes, sir. You're on the list. I'm
I'm not.
on a roll.
Just wanted to let you know that I'm.
Okay, I got you.
Are you?
So, you were raising your finger, and I thought you wanted me to quit. So, the bottom line is if we're going to do
a different
something.
finger.
Oh.
It was just.
He wasn't. Don't clap. He wasn't telling me he was not that I'm number one. Maybe we have a discussion after our break or when we come back this afternoon. That might be something that our community may want to have a look at, just to assist with some of the larger distressed issues that we have, and those that we know that they're absolutely displaced.
And Commissioner, I take no joy in going and explaining the process to you. I know these folks have needs, and we are aggressively working through that. We're just a little bit challenged with either not the necessary engagement I feel like we should have in Collier County with FEMA and the state. There are some state housing folks here.
I would like for you, and I know I'm interrupting you, but I want you to hear from me that there is no, I'm not chastising you at all by any stretch of the imagination. It's just and I certainly insinuated you took no pleasure in sharing all of these things.
No.
We're looking for an answer. Our community is looking for an answer, and I would like to see that as quickly as possible.
Yes, sir. Loud
Okay.
and clear.
Commissioner Taylor, or Commissioner Saunders first, then Commissioner Taylor.
I was getting ready to use the other finger. It's on somebody else. Just a couple questions. First of all, how many housing units do you estimate we need in this housing mission? Do you have kind of an idea?
It's very much a moving target. So in other words, the preliminary planning assessment was somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 units, okay? Now, again, you look at destroyed, and that changes every day as, not destroyed, I'm sorry, had major damage, and then you look at who's repairing and who is not repairing, or what is that individual situation, what is that like? Again, FEMA makes that determination based on, are they dried in, do they have other issues, et cetera.
So we know it's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, it's a moving number, but we know it's a big number, and we're homing in on that. In Charlotte County, when they did the housing program after Hurricane Charlie, my understanding is, and it's been verified in other conversations, that somewhere near 70% of the trailers that were deployed were occupied by people that were not impacted by Hurricane Charlie. They were occupied by people that came in for free housing. I also understand that in that particular mission, there was an element, a criminal element that occupied those trailers, and it created a huge problem that I believe lasted for years, getting those people out. And so we have asked, and I think the commission will ask if we haven't done it officially, is for our housing mission to be handled differently, that we really focus on putting those trailers on individual lots as much as possible. There may need to be some area where there's an accumulation of several of those, but can we take some action as a board, not to demand anything from FEMA, because I understand it's within their purview completely, but to urge them to do that and make that an official recommendation?
You have already done that. We did that by virtue of an amendment in our land use code, our land development code, that allows those trailers to be set in driveways.
No, I understand.
So you're all set, and they are keenly aware that they can do that.
I understand that we did that, but what I'm saying is take some official action, not only to say that we have the legal authority to do that, but that we're urging FEMA to do that. Something that our representatives, whether it be Senator Scott, Senator Rubio, but our representatives who are in contact with FEMA can indicate our pleasure at having this done in that particular way. Just a question.
No, sir, I think it's a great question, and let me respond this way and to say, first of all, we'll keep the pulse on that we'll watch that carefully. And at the moment, I feel like that we need a letter of support from you, from the board, to reinforce that at a higher level. If the state and our local FEMA reps are not moving in that direction, I will sound the alarm and ask for your help.
All right, then let me do this then, just so that there's no delay. Why don't we authorize our chairman, if there was a request from Mr. Summers for that type of a letter, we authorize the chairman now to send that so that we don't have to have some official authorization. And if that is acceptable, I'll make that motion. So at least the chairman has the authority to communicate with FEMA in writing on our behalf to acknowledge and underscore that this is the type of housing mission we would like to see in this county.
I think that's excellent.
Right. Second. Third. It's been moved and seconded that the chairman's authorized to correspond directly with FEMA on behalf of the board with regard to our intentions here. Close enough. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign, so moved. Commissioner Taylor, you were the last.
I know that I just would like to know the parameters by which FEMA approves folks to use this housing. And I know you talked about the housing has to be ADA compliant. What other parameters are around us?
Generally, Commissioner, what I know is this. Number one, FEMA looks at things such as insured loss, absence of insured loss, the condition of the property. They look at the income. They look at extenuating circumstances such as medical condition or frailty. So they have a process for evaluating that. And again, another reason, if I might pile on here a little bit, that we want to have this disaster assistance center because a lot of these nonprofits can help provide advocacy for those applicants in housing. And so, again, a process. I don't know every question in that process, but it obviously is an assessment on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you very much.
And just as an aside, and I'm throwing darts right now, but since we're utilizing our museum here that's on our facility as a temporary disaster recovery center, maybe let's have a look at it as an ongoing assistance program. It might be something we can, because there's a classroom over there and there's some things we may not need the entire 3,000 feet that you're alleging, but it is here, it is close, it is in proximity to the people that were in fact damaged, so.
That's correct. And if we do look at that other office opportunity, I think I have a funding partner now as well. So.
Outstanding. So thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say? I appreciate all that you do. County Manager, you're leaning in right now. No?
Not on this.
Okay. So with that, we are going to take a 10-minute court reporters break and be back at 11 minutes, 10:50 with that.
Commissioner, you have a live mic.
Yes, and Commissioner Solis and I are all alone up here, so and we can't really do anything. We're gonna move around in our agenda a little bit and hear from our esteemed tax collector, he who's in fault for all of the money that you have to pay. And now I have three, so Mr. Tax Collector, you may proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I was joking about being at fault, by the way.
Thank you. I see the room, I come up and the room cleared out, so I'm used to that. Don't worry. Boo, hiss. Anyway, for the record, Rob Stoneburner, Collier County Tax Collector. I think you said, talked about unused fees and going to address Hurricane Ian. I'm going to flip it, Hurricane Ian, then unused fees. And note to self, never come up to the podium after Dan Summers, because it's quite a while. But, you know, all jokes aside, Dan and his crew did an incredible job. And that's another reason why I'm here. I wanted to commend Amy Patterson, Ed Finn, and Dan Rodriguez, your management team, because they are incredible. They really are. Your facilities management, those guys are the unsung and gals are unsung heroes. They're still out there crushing it.
Yeah.
They got all of our places ready, and we only have one location that I would say didn't make it. Marco Island tax office was flooded. Not quite sure how much, but there were boxes that were in one end of the building, were in the other end of the building later on, so they floated there somehow. So, and the jury's still out whether or not that building will be able to be saved or not. We'll have to wait and see. Heritage Bay facility ran like a champ. Generator is on, so we got a great facility there. I wanted to let the public know there are DHSMV fee waivers we've received a lot of title requests. And some folks even couldn't get their car because it was in a waterway somewhere at the bottom so watch out if you're boating, for sure. So that actually expired. The fee waiver expired on the 23rd. However, we have received word that it will be continued, so we made an executive decision and we're going to continue waiving those fees. Tax collector waives our fees as well. It's also been reported that the governor is expected to call a special session after the election before the end of the year to talk about a hurricane and whatnot, and that might also include some additional provisions, going forward for tax collection and whatnot. So all that's put aside, and I am proud to say that the tax collector's office has unused fees for the Collier County Board of County Commissioners in the amount of $7,643,342.18.
Amen. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, so who would you like me to give this check to? There's a little backup to go with it, and I don't have anything else, so thank you for, pardon me?
Where's Ed Finn?
Where's Ed? Give it to Ed?
He's out and about.
Yes.
It's okay. You
All
can
right.
give it. Amy
Thank
will
you
make
very
sure.
much.
Thank you, Rob. I made a joke when our tax collector came up here, and you are doing an amazing job, sir. Just so you know, I know you. Yeah, I know. So, Rob and I have been friends a long, long time, and his assistance and supervision in opening up the Heritage Bay facilities that we have up there as a government complex. Thank you. All right, let's go to our time certain, and then we'll jump to go back to the item number 7.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 11F, which is your 10 o'clock time certain, so we're just a little bit late.
No, you're late. I'm not.
I'm a little bit late.
Yes, correct.
Recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners consider a proposed partnership between Goodwill of Southwest Florida and Collier County for renovations and improvements to the East Naples location for the Collier County Community Resource Center, including a hub for the Micro Enterprise Program and dedicated space for Collier County, allowing for expanded partnerships for recruitment of county staff, as well as training and educational opportunities for current and future Collier County staff members, and direct the county manager and county attorney to prepare the necessary agreements and budget amendments in support of this partnership for consideration at a future meeting of the board. We do have representatives from Goodwill here who will make a presentation. Just wanted to give the board a little bit of background before they get started. This item predates me and actually predates my predecessor all the way back to Economic Development. Director Jace Kentner was working with Goodwill on small business and some other things, and it's sort of languished here over the years. So when Dan came upstairs this past winter, he picked up on this effort. We've been meeting with Goodwill and talking about how we go from a potential financial partnership to a real partnership where we can partner in training and education recruitment. And that's where we land today. This is an item in concept. No financial allocation would happen today. We would work with Goodwill through a partnership agreement that would outline both what the deliverables are and the protections for the county. Obviously be vetted through the clerk of courts as well as all of our economic development agreements are on a going forward basis. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Goodwill folks. They can make their presentation and are here to answer questions.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Carolyn Johnson, Senior Vice President of Mission Services at Goodwill Industries of Southwest Florida. Thank you for having us here today. Excited to finally be able to present this partnership. However, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the events of the last 3 weeks and exactly what our role was as Goodwill as we rallied to support our communities, and that also includes Collier County. And listening to the disaster relief presentation, it was clear to me just how necessary a hub like this is important to Collier County. What we do in our Goodwill stores, we're more than a store. People love to shop, people love to donate, but we are also a resource. We are, in critical time as well as good times, we are a resource for our community. So in the last 3 weeks, you know, this event hit all 5 counties, and you know, just north of us, it hit us severely. And what we did is we rallied, and people were able to come to our stores, they were able to get what they need, and they were able to do that with the vouchers that we provided. They were also able to access our community resource centers and get the immediate help that they needed. We talked about case managers, we talked about assessing people, we talked about connecting people to their resources. Well, that's what we do. That's what we do every day, and in times of crisis, it was amped up. So I'm really proud of our organization and our team that we were able to do that. So with that being said, it kind of puts a different perspective on this prepared presentation that I put together. I want you to keep in mind that everything that we're talking about today, this means like what we're going to do now, what we would do in the future would serve the community, not only in good times, but in crisis. So Goodwill Industries of Southwest Florida, we believe in long-term solutions. We're helping people to be sustainable, to be efficient in their lives, to build up their families and their communities. And we believe in providing opportunities for individuals to give them the opportunity to have economic mobility and sustainability. And one of the ways that we do this is through our microenterprise program, which we've had for over 12 years, very successful program. 12 years of helping aspiring entrepreneurs to become their own boss. Yes, we are a workforce organization and we do help people get employed, but then there are those individuals who want to own their own business. The microenterprise program that we have provided in the last 12 years offers those individuals that opportunity. It's 12-module business and management training, and it's guided by local mentors and coaches. And that's something that just stays all local. We're using those business partners, those mentors to really coach those individuals that want to be on their own. In the last 12 years, we've had 109 classes, and that's probably gone up a little bit. We are over 1,000 graduates, 510 businesses started and strengthened, and numerous other jobs created. Again, going back to the storm, I'm sure we all know everyone was impacted, but also our small businesses were impacted. And it's a lot harder for them to get back on the road to recovery. And our small business attention that we put on through microenterprise is helping them gain the resources that they need to get to at this time. So in Collier County specifically, we have been doing microenterprise since 2013, 28 classes, 228 graduates, and 110 businesses started or strengthened. So who takes our classes? Individuals who are low to moderate income, people who are unemployed or underemployed, motivated self-starters. And now with the storm, you know, I suspect there are going to be a lot of displaced workers. There are going to be a lot of people that are thinking about, well, what can I do on my own? Maybe I don't have a job to go back to. Maybe I need to start up a small business or do something else. So that's another thing that we're addressing at this time. Some companies you may know, and this is all through our 5-county area, pointing out some of the Collier County ones is Sassy Sauce, Juice Elations. Juice Elations has been in business since 2016. And I don't know if any of you have been there here in Collier County, but they are a juice company and they work with local farmers and local people to provide healthy options, juice options for people, and smart bowls and all kinds of things. And then Sassy Sauce, another Collier success business, has actually, she's been making that sauce for 35 years and she finally made it official, made it into a thriving business starting in 2020. Again, more successful businesses in Collier County. Joe's Shoe Repair, you see the list there, Judy's Bakery, Digital Print Idea, Horizon Buying Group, and then of course, Sassy Sauce. So a lot of thriving businesses have already been happening here in Collier County. We want to have a bigger presence in Collier County. Right now, what we're doing is we're kind of floating between places. Sandra, who is our director of that program, kind of floats between where we can have classes. But as you can see, you know, big success in Collier County with the businesses that we do have. Our funding partners, we can't do this alone. You'll see the list there, and you'll see it everywhere for the 5 counties that we serve, everywhere from Cape Coral. We have some individual foundations, like the Schultz Family Foundation, big supporter of ours, Fine Mark Bank, Coca-Cola Foundation, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So there's a long list of supporters, and we'd love to add Collier County to that list as well. Now, our community resource centers. I alluded to this in the beginning of the presentation. This is something that is co-located in many of our stores. And in the one in our town center store, we have a very small community resource center. It's about 5 computers. It's very small, but it is mighty. We'd love to increase the footprint within our Naples Town Center store, as well as our microenterprise program. In our community resource centers, we are that connection for the individuals impacted, whether they're looking for a job in the case of the storm. You know, a lot of people came to us asking for FEMA assistance. How can I access FEMA? How can I get DSNAP? What do I need to do? People have a lot of questions. We were able to mobilize in our Lee County and Charlotte County, and we did so also in our small CRC here in Collier County. But it's evident to me that we need to increase that footprint. If this happens again, I can see where we could be a hub for people to come in. We would work with FEMA, we would work with DRC, just like we do in Lee County. We are huge partners with the EOC providing those services. We could have that extra office space, and we can help those wraparound services for people in critical need. So. And then we get people jobs. At the end of the day, that's what we do. We've been doing that for over 55 years in our Southwest Florida community, is helping people find jobs and sustainable jobs. And we have our partners as well. I have Dr. Meyer here. Where is he? A couple of years ago, Dr. Meyer and our CEO, John, decided, let's bring in Hodges Direct. And what does this mean? This means that we're offering workforce-directed certificates and degrees for individuals, training space for the instructors to come in. This would take place within the CRC, ESL classes, and Dr. Meyer wants to bring the WHEEL program back to Collier County. I know some of you know all about the WHEEL program. And Another aspect of what we would like to do within the center, you see a little picture there. This is what it would look like. We would have our microenterprise center, which have a bigger presence, which we can really inject the small business and get it going. And then also a larger community resource center. But then also we'd like to have an office for Collier County itself, so that they can come in and we could be true partners. It would be an investment into the community and what we were doing. I'm told that, if you all have employees that want to come and, work on specific digital skills or any type of skills that we can do, it could all happen in this hub, and you would have a dedicated space. And that is my presentation. There's some lovely pictures there of some people that have graduated. I do have here my team. In case anybody has any questions, we have John, we have Sandra, and we have Dr. Meyer here.
Outstanding. It's good to see you this morning, by the way.
Good to be here.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Hi, thank you, for their presentation. I think nobody would question the great work that Goodwill does, and we're, proud to have you in the community. The only thing I would add is when the county goes into an agreement with any organization, whether it's a not-for-profit, FGCU, Chamber of Commerce, or whatnot, there's some expectations by the county, and there's very specific deliverables. In the time I've been here in the seat, I've watched some organizations really impress us with what they've accomplished, what their reports, so that you don't know it if you don't measure it, that sort of thing. And I know it's very important to me to make sure that any investment we make in partnering with another organization is taxpayer dollars well spent. So as we go down this road of a partnership together and we do great things in the community, just keep in mind whose ever responsibility it is to prove to us that our partnership and our investment was worth the juice was worth the squeeze, as we always say. Those deliverables are important. It's important for our clerk of courts. It's important for our county manager, and we're looking for those things as well. So I don't say that as a threat or anything. I say that more as I would love for Goodwill to really set the bar where some other organizations have missed in the past, and they got a lot of investment from the county, and I'm not saying they didn't do a lot of good, but it's really impressive when we can measure it, see it, talk about it, and whatever is being expected of you, we are getting in triplicate. And then then we know that it's not the county that's investing in you. And I say this all the time: it's our taxpayers. And so we're about to enter into something that can do a lot of great work, but let's make sure that we measure it, and when the reports are due, we're hearing great things. Or let us know how we can help more. That we keep that dialogue open, because we want it to be a successful partnership.
Absolutely, thank you, Commissioner. And it's not a territory that we are unfamiliar with. There are other programs that we have to do these types of deliverables and reports, so we are well equipped to do that. Sandra has been working this program for a number of years, and where she has to do reports. And you saw the numbers here that we have here. We have over 1,000 graduates, so that success speaks for itself. But I have a whole team of people to bring together reports and show you the good.
Sandra, did you see how she threw you under the bus right there? If the reports are great, it's a team of people. If they're not, hey, Sandra, it was all on her. Okay. Thank you very much. Look forward to the success and progress together.
Commissioner Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have some questions. And the reason I want to raise these questions is obviously this particular item today has no financial impact on the county. It basically sets in motion staff putting together all the documents and all that information. And so if this is approved this morning, I don't want you to go away thinking that this is a done deal with the county, because though I love the mission of Goodwill and respect what you do and am grateful for all those services, I'm not sure I can go along with this particular item. And so I want to ask you a couple questions. We're talking about, just so I understand, we're talking about I think the amount was a $750,000 commitment for improvements to your existing facility. Now, your existing facility is in the town center in East Naples. I'm assuming you're leasing that space, or do you own that space?
For the record, John Nato, I'm the CEO of Goodwill. That's a lease space, yes.
Okay. Now, your lease, what's the duration of your lease term? And
We have options out to 25 years. We've already talked to the landlord about this particular endeavor, and they're very much supportive of it, and they understand exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to renovate the space to make it happen.
Okay. Because I'm a little leery of doing tenant improvements in a facility that we don't have some control over. So I would need to see your lease. I don't need to see it today, but I would need to, in case you're getting ready to grab for it, I would need to see your lease because that would be very important to me to make sure that if there is an investment that we're secure in that. And then next question is in terms of the benefit to Collier County directly, not the benefit to our county residents who get some training, but to county government. My understanding is there'll be some opportunity for people who are interested in working for the county to kind of go through this process, and there may be some recruitment benefit. But could you elaborate on that? Because I don't quite understand how or why that would be a benefit to the county in terms of our recruitment.
Well, you would have a location, a dedicated location that gets a lot of customer traffic, a lot of foot traffic of people you might want to recruit. The other side of it is the training aspect, and one thing about us is that we're very nimble in what we can deliver. And so we can work with you on curriculum. If you have a particular kind of software that you want to train some of your people on, we can be the training apparatus for that software for you in this location. So we'll not only have a recruiting office for Collier County that you can staff as you see fit, but then we also have the classroom space, the computers right there, so we can wrap around the whole thing for you, from recruitment to finding applicants. So we have a lot of people that come in to look for either jobs or they look for navigation to resources. And so we could direct those people as appropriate over to your office to provide you with a pool of people to look at.
And then, Mr. Chairman, just one more comment or question for Ms. Patterson. We're likely to move this forward today. If there's a motion in a second, I'll support moving this forward. But I didn't want to leave anyone with the impression that that means I'm going to support this when and if it comes back. So, Ms. Patterson, if you could get me a little more comfortable with how we benefit, how the county benefits from this. And the reason I'm asking this is we have in our sales tax that was approved by the voters, I believe $20 million for a kind of a training center. And we're still looking to find a location, I guess, and that's going to be, I guess, a partnership with the Collier County School District. And so we're going to have a facility in the not too distant future, I hope not too distant future, that may fill that same need that you're talking about. So I don't want to duplicate things. And Ms. Patterson, if you can get me comfortable with that, then that's certainly going to be important when this comes back.
Absolutely. So the training center that is a partnership with the school board is a technical training school. It is actually currently, as you know, it's located currently in lease space in Golden Gate City. So that is one aspect of training students to take on technical careers, be it automotive or machinists. What we're envisioning here is something different than that. And not to say they're not complementary, and that in the future, each of these shouldn't work together. VOTEC, which we don't call VOTEC anymore, we call Lorenzo Walker, as well as the Center for Manufacturing Excellence and Goodwill, each have a particular role to fill and not intended to be duplication. The county is no secret. We've had some challenges, as have many post-pandemic, in recruiting folks throughout the organization. Now, we're pretty good at hiring people like engineers and accountants, but when you get into our frontline staff, we see heavy turnover and difficulties retaining people for a variety of reasons. What we had envisioned here in conversations with Goodwill is that they have access to people coming in looking for employment, maybe in a different way than people coming to look for employment in the county. That's something we need to explore as to what those barriers are that have people applying for our jobs versus not, but also is the ability to assess those folks coming in for where they may have skills that even they are unaware of. So that's what Goodwill already does, is look for career placement. We're looking to partner there. this is not looking to partner in these skilled trades. We're looking for people, fiscal technicians, perhaps being able to get some training and assistance from both Goodwill and Hodges for folks interested in becoming building inspectors or plant operators for wastewater. And again, not to say that we can't look at those adults looking to be placed in combination with the students that are going through either Lorenzo Walker or the Center for Manufacturing Excellence, each as their own place, but not to duplicate effort. I think one of the most interesting things, the last thing I'll say, is one of the most interesting things that the Hodges folks talked to us about was what makes somebody go to a Goodwill Career Center. And that is in part that there's an intimidation factor associated with higher education often. And so folks feel more comfortable going into a career center in a place where they're used to going to shop or get other services. They may be inclined to explore opportunities differently there than they would going to a Hodges. And I wonder if the same applies to government. There is a level perhaps of intimidation that we find for people that don't know that skills that they've earned through their years in various careers actually do apply to what we do here. You don't have to be an engineer or an accountant, and that we have places for all types of people. I know I said last is, we had talked a lot about an internship program, and that's when we have folks coming to Goodwill that don't know exactly what they do, but they want to be employed. Could the county work with Goodwill to develop an internship program where we move them around into different jobs in the county and see where they fit and see how we start to recruit in folks, locals, and then keep them in our workforce?
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I'll support a motion to move this forward, but I'm going to need to see some more detail on that.
Understood.
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor, 1 second.
Yes,
Then you.
County Manager, this is eerily like what we went through with the accelerator and the incubator. So I believe there is a beautiful space in Craft that we could, it's ready to move, it's turnkey. Is it available? Was it considered?
No, this is looking to partner with Goodwill specifically for their needs as well. So they're looking to stand up their micro enterprise here in Collier, having a greater presence, as well as an expansion of their career center, which they already have at Town Center. The original conversation was simply just, was the county interested in partnering? Taking on this dedicated space is an idea that morphed out of those conversations, specifically so that we can gain access to some of those people and ideas that are coming in through Goodwill as just another avenue for us to employ people that are already here.
And I can respect that, but I also paid very close attention to the fact that Goodwill is 5 counties and the interstate is right there. So I am not going to be here, of course, but I would like the commission to consider the Craft site also. I didn't see where that $750,000 to renovate this building was, but I guess you got that in conversation with County Manager Patterson. There is a renovated space. It has classrooms. It has cubicles. It has very sophisticated electronics, and I don't know if it's available, but I would like that to be considered. But again, I am only one person.
Commissioner, Mr. Chair, I think, are you referring to the Craft?
The old
space
EII
where the
space.
old incubator was?
Right.
I think that's gone. That's now occupied by
Sure you rented
an
it.
engineering firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you rented it. Commissioner,
No, I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's.
If you could confirm.
We'll
that.
confirm.
yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Commissioner Saunders said. I think it was really astute. My comments were sort of along the same lines, maybe a little bit softer, but I agree with him. I'd like to see a little bit more of the fine print. We've been down this road before with other organizations, and it's not to lump you in. I know, realize every organization's different. You've got a different team, but it feels like deja vu all over again. And these are big dollar figures. This is a big investment. This isn't us just shaking hands saying, we love Goodwill. How can we help you? I mean, this is a major investment by the county again to do very similar things that we had hoped had already happened over the years. And some of them happened, some of them didn't. And the part that bothers me is the good things that happened, if you work the algorithm, we paid for all those good things in a with big dollars to get, you know, maybe a small to medium chunk. So I just would like to see the investment come out of this. And I agree with Commissioner Saunders. I mean, I don't want to hold this up, but this isn't voting on the whole kit and caboodle. So having the details as to, you know, and don't take this the wrong way, but my position is always, this has to be 51% good for the county or more, and 49% good for you or less. And I said that sort of tongue in cheek, but we have to look at this as, why does the county and the taxpayers, why should they do this? And it's to make goodwill stronger, but also we're looking at it as for a big thing for the county and a partnership. And in the end, the reality is 50-50 is a great thing as well. But we've had some 90-10, and 10 was the county in some cases, and we don't want to do that again. So you can really help us by exactly what Commissioner Saunders said, is make sure we're going through everything this time, and so that we've learned from some of the things we've done where there could be much improvement. And I echo exactly what he said. I'll be wanting that same pitch before I, you know, put a rubber stamp on it and feel good about it as well.
Can I respond to that?
Absolutely.
One thing that should give you comfort is that this is not a theoretical exercise here. This is a program, if we're talking about micro enterprise specifically, that has been very successful, with a history of success, both in our 5-county area, specifically in Collier County. So what we're talking about here is scope, and we feel by having more presence down here with dedicated staff, we can even improve on those, what I think are really fantastic numbers. Over 1,000 graduates and over 500 businesses started. So we've moved beyond theoretical. We actually have done this. We've done it very successfully. The other thing you should know about Goodwill, if you don't know, is that 90 cents of every dollar of our revenue goes back into our mission services. We are a very lean company, and we pride ourselves on being a very mission-driven company. We touch over 25,000 individuals every year with one service or another. And I'm not talking about just filling out a resume. I'm talking about putting people in contact with FEMA, or all the things that we do. So again, there should be some comfort level. You know, we're 55 years old. We've been doing this for a long time. In the Goodwill world across the country, I would say we're one of the top Goodwills, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And then you add the collaboration with Hodges University. I think there's a lot of meat on the bone here.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'll echo, or my rebuttal to that will be, we have had organizations claim the same thing, or do what I call funny math. You know, oh, we created 1,000 jobs, and then we look at the spreadsheet, and you know the numbers don't match up, or there are people that already had jobs and then got a little bit out of the organization, so they didn't need the county's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to do it. So that's where we rely on. It's the buck stops with you, right, ma'am? What was your name again? Sandra. So Sandra, put the meat on the bone for us. Okay, real numbers, real people, and what we did grow. And then I think, you know, Commissioner Saunders, myself, and all of the commissioners here, we want to feel really good about this investment. Okay. Okay, Sandra. Okay.
Commissioner Solis, you were lit up. Was that in response?
No, that was before.
Okay. Well, I want to say out loud, just as an aside with regard to that, I spoke with the clerk yesterday. It's no secret that I do love Goodwill. I am 20 years on the board. I promised the clerk yesterday that if I wasn't prohibited or having to abstain because I am on the board, if we do decide to make a financial investment in Goodwill, I will ensure, even if I abstain, I can participate in the conversation, and I can ensure that there will be fixed measurables and milestones that we'll be able to look at and put our teeth into, number one. Number two, the 288 companies that have already been started through micro enterprises in Collier County, just with the brief description, because this was something that I was assisting a lot in the creation of micro enterprises. How do we do with a follow-up and retention and going forward? Let's let the lady who's going to be responsible come up.
Sandra, just so you know, and I'll speak for Commissioner Saunders because I know he'll agree with me, it gives me no comfort knowing that Commissioner McDaniel is sort of our representative on the board, and you know, he's got everything under control.
Just for the record, I'm Sandra Plazas, Director of Communities education with Goodwill Industries. And can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, Mr. McDaniel.
Yeah, what type of follow-up do you do? There's 288 companies that have been started through micro enterprises in the 12 years. What type of follow-up do we do after a person's come to us and gone through our program, gone through our training? What do we do after the fact?
There's a couple things that we do. We offer, we do 2 surveys annually to find out how our businesses are doing, if there's any referrals or any resources that they additionally need to continue moving their business forward. So we do that in June, and then we do it in December, because we finish our classes by November. And then we also have alumni workshops. So there's oftentimes, you have to remember that 70% of the businesses or the folks that come in and take our classes are very low to moderate income. So they need maybe a little bit more assistance when they get their business started. So we have alumni workshops where we work with different, for example, if they need to get their business on Facebook, or if they need to understand what it looks like to put their business on Facebook, we have workshops for that. A lot of our businesses are in food businesses. So we partner with the IFAS Extension Office, and we host we host Cottage Florida Food Business Workshops, so people understand what it takes to get a food business started in their home. And then we have other alumni workshops, like for example, coming up in January, we're going to offer a CPA workshop where people can understand what's expected of them when they get their taxes done, what questions they may have. Understand that a lot of these folks don't have the time to sit or the financial assistance to sit with an attorney. So in our classes, we have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have social media experts, and we have marketing experts that do small presentations so that these folks can get an understanding on how they need to proceed in the next segment of their plan. And when you get a business started, the biggest thing is having some kind of a foundation or a plan help. So we also partner with SBDC, and we partner with SCORE so that they can continue the development of
Talk nice and slow. You're doing really, really
sorry,
well.
a
But
little nervous.
poor Terry's over here trying to
sorry,
keep up with you.
So yeah, so some of the things that we do, we research, we partner with other agencies to continue to help our businesses grow their business, develop a plan, and sometimes folks are ready to sell their business. We don't touch that specifically in our program, but we reach out to SBDC and SCORE so that they continue to help them with the progression of their business, or if they're willing to sell their business at one point. But we're constantly talking to them. We survey them. We provide surveys at every single class at the end so that they have an opportunity to tell us what we're doing good, where we need to focus more on our program. But overall, we're constantly talking to our participants, especially now with Ian. With 200 businesses out there, we try to touch with everybody and see how they're doing, what resources they need, if they need an SBA person, if they need to talk to somebody that can help them with some banking or some financial. So we try to talk to them as much as possible, at least twice a year, and we do ongoing surveys and alumni workshops to make sure that we're getting the information that they need to them so that they can continue to move forward in their business.
Very good. Very good, very good, very good.
Sorry for speaking so fast.
No, don't be sorry, dear. You're just a little bit nervous. You did a really good job. So, well, I don't have anybody else lit up. I think we're all done with our questions.
And really quick, as far as the benefit that the Collier County receives, 90% of the businesses in Southwest Florida are micro enterprises. They're painters, they're cleaning businesses, they're food businesses, 5 or less employees. So what does that do for the county? When they get started, when they get the foundation to start their business and grow, they're going to hire because they need more people. So that is one of the benefits of Collier County, is we're going to develop more employment opportunities for folks. And not only that, but full circle. When they go to one of our CRCs, they're not just going to find out about micro enterprise, but maybe an aunt of theirs needs work, or maybe a son of theirs needs to fill out a Pell Grant application. So it's almost like full circle opportunity for folks that come to our CRCs.
Outstanding. So with that, I'll make a motion for approval. It's very important that I say out loud, we're not making a motion for expenditure of any money at this particular stage. We're just making a motion of support and partnering with Goodwill and directing staff to do so. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we move forward as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, same sound? So moved.
Thank you, Commissioners. That brings us to item 7, public comments on general topics not on the current or future agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we have 11 registered speakers for public comment this morning. Your first speaker is Garrett FX Byrant, and he will be followed by Michael, I think this is C. Hagan or G. Michael A. Hagan. I'm sorry, Michael, I can't read your handwriting. G. And Mr. Hagan, you're second. Can I get you to queue up at this other podium so we can expedite our process? Thank you so much.
For the record, Garrett FX Byrant. You can arrest me now or later. I don't know. It's really odd karma today because I didn't intend to hear everything you guys just said. And I said, oh, God, that was the first shopping center that was ever putted in Collier County by me because it was a property I was developing on the east end of town. That's your shopping center. And who do you think is the guy? These are the awards I give out every 4 years or every so many years to commissioners to get in like an incentive going. Like, what are you going to do in the next 4 years to change Collier County and make it better? And so I kind of like run guilt trips in advance, and it actually works. I mean, it's like perfect example. Everybody sitting up on the board, their gifts are like totally related to what occurred so far today. So the first gift, and I should start over, the one guy was really interesting on the end there, Commissioner Solis, because I reached into my pocket and found this coin. This is a coin that is from Peru, and it's the solar coin.
Remember, you
God of Sun.
You have 3 minutes.
I know. Yeah, I'll get to you.
All right.
So this is the God of Sun. This is the Solis coin. Well, I'm going to give that to you. Okay. Then Commissioner Locastro, in this one, this is not popcorn. Okay. Although it's kind of like popcorn. This is an award I gave to you, believe it or not. Jace Kentner and I gave you this award. It was interesting because historically, and these are things that I get from different nonprofits that I work with. And in this case, I got this, of course, from your favorite store, Goodwill. Okay. And it just happened to be, this is when Jace Kentner was the Economic Development Director. And it's a very rare cup. You can find stuff at Goodwill that is inexpensive and collectible. And this happens to be Lewis and Clark as one cup. This is the Lewis and Clark Expedition. Now, if you read about it, it's a 600-page expedition. And on the bottom of the cup, it says, to Rick Locastro from Garrett and Jace Kentner.
I actually have that cup. I have the matching set of that one. So
Do you really?
No.
If you ever read the story, it's scary what those guys did. And when coming back was worse than
Pay
going
attention
out.
to the clock. You get 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay, ready? I'm going. This is Bill McDaniel's award,
There we go.
which actually is this is a caiman, but everybody thinks that they're alligators.
Maybe alligator.
I actually got this in the Cape Coral facility, the Goodwill, when I was visiting my son was in the rehab out there, my youngest son. And that's really there's so many good things that come out of the county. Now, Bert, okay, this is your other buddy.
Your red light's on.
You're out of time.
This is yours. This is a Harley Davidson helmet. Nobody's ever been killed wearing this helmet. John told me that. Okay. And the one woman I wanted to talk to briefly, this is like the lady that's done more for Collier County than anybody I know. She would have been a great governor. I really honestly believe that. And I bought you a red Corvette. It's a cheap one. It's right here in the bottom of the can, okay? But I'm leaving these things. They're marked who they belong to, okay?
Outstanding. Thank you, Garrett.
Pretty good, thank you.
It's good seeing you again, and almost for
pleasure.
keeping it at under 3 minutes.
And this came out of my garage. It got hit by the...
There we go. All right.
No kidding. It flew 150 feet out of my garage of my house on the bed.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, your next speaker is Michael G. Hagan, and he will be followed by Elizabeth Rady.
All right, thank you. Thanks for putting him ahead of me. Now I know I can't embarrass myself.
Hey, it's a job. You got to do it. You got to do
Joke.
the right
It's a
thing.
joke. It's a joke. All right, thanks. No, it's not right. I'm here, I think, for the third time talking about not affordable housing, but homelessness. I was going to talk to Rick because he responds to all my emails, and I appreciate that. Jeff, help me if I get off track. So I've been homeless here in Florida on and off for 18 years, approximately. So here, Collier County, I lived with my mother so about 14 years on and off the street here in Collier County. I've been to the jail, I've been to the psych ward, I've been everywhere that you don't want to go. I know more about this county than anybody, I believe, from all different aspects. It's, if you want a 100, if you want a 5149, this is a 100-0 for everybody. So the guy, on Friday, I saw this guy go out to the senior center in Golden Gate City because I get a free monthly bus pass here, which is the hardest thing to get in the county, which is incredible. When I was a resident in St. Matthew's House, they gave me a van to drive to take this money to the CAT Center over on Rady Road. We're paying for our bus passes. I'm thinking, why? Why does St. Matthew's House have to pay for a discounted bus pass to give to their residents so the resident can work? It doesn't make much sense. There's not much help from the county here for homelessness. When I was in the hospital, I was in the hospital 4 times in 6 days working this hurricane recovery. Robert on the 5th floor said, you have the scarlet letter behind your name. He's correct. H. The H behind my name is homeless. It's worse. It's the worst thing you can be in this county. This hurricane is a tremendous blessing for me and everybody else that's out there. And by the way, the Collier County Homeless Coalition count this year, I think, was under 700. Last year was under 800. So supposedly we're doing better. According to my source, my counselor, David Lawrence Center, the truer count, more true count, is 1,708 homeless people in Collier County. They would know, all right? Because then that's another thing that's unfair. Why are we directed only to David Lawrence Center? Where's the competition? I know they got $25 million, I think, from the tax increase thing to build a place for children. That's fantastic. What choice do I have? I have 9 designated mental illnesses. I have no choice, really, except to go to David Lawrence Center. That's not fair to me. That's a monopoly. Where's the competition? Now, somebody from the county told me they're trying to get that, and I understand that, and I appreciate it, but let's get another one. Why can I not have a choice? If the judge directs me to David Lawrence Center, that's where I have to go. Why can't I choose? If I have to go to a inpatient alcohol drug program, I can choose where I want to go. I know where I want to go because it's easier for whatever. It's just not fair. Can I have 30 seconds more?
I gave it to Garrett.
Yes. Oh, yeah, okay. So I lost my train of thought there for a second. I was talking about David Lawrence Center. Anyway, I'm homeless by choice. Not too many people. This is not something you want to do. This is a war zone out there. I was just telling these ladies I had 4 infections in my feet working hurricane cleanup, and I learned a lot. I was the first one in line at the shelter, the first shelter, the Oak Ridge Middle School. Okay, then we went to the high school. There was 120 people there. 120 people's lives under the control of what? Does anybody know? Who's in charge of the shelter at the high school? Does anybody know here? The commissioners, do you know?
And just so you know, Michael, this isn't a question and answer.
I'm
thing.
sorry.
This is
I'm
for
sorry.
you to speak on items that are not on today's agenda,
Park District
and
was
your
a total
time
of
is up
120.
now. We're all done.
We're done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Your next speaker is Elizabeth Rady. She'll be followed by B.B. Cantor.
I'm smiling.
Yes, I see that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Elizabeth Rady. I am the head of the Collier County Tenant Union. Most of you know me as that, but I've been in Collier County most of my life. My parents retired from the Collier County Sheriff's Department and Social Services. I've also been a single parent for most of my adult life. Through tests and trials, I not only found God, but purpose, way beyond myself. I worked in various church leadership roles, especially with single parents, like First Baptist, and I helped churches develop single-parent ministries, New Hope, Parkway Life, and many others. I also had a bread ministry where I partnered with Panera and fed single parents weekly for almost 5 years. Also, I am a lay minister with the Church of God. I thought I knew what leadership was. After all, I've done it for most of my life. I've watched great leaders rise to the occasion and others fall under the weight of their own works and deeds. I have learned that true leadership is about empowering others to want to be their best selves and stand with people even when it profits me nothing. True leadership isn't about what's good for myself, but rather what's right even if it's not popular. I was never the one to follow the masses or to compromise my principles to get along with the crowd. I am not about to do that now. I have seen some really disturbing things pertaining to our local and state leadership that has truly become disheartening. I have watched people that I'm sure at one point joined whatever office of influence because they truly wanted to make a difference, only to buckle to be sucked into their others' agendas and fall in line like good little leaders do until they take up some of the same self-serving mantles. I have to ask, where did we get off track? I moved away a couple of years ago to do an internship in Atlanta and swore I'd never come back here. But God had other ideas. Where the saying goes, there's just something about being a part of something bigger than you that's not about you and that requires more than you that feels so right. And when God calls you, He will equip you to see it through. Since the rental crisis and push for affordable housing, I have witnessed some incredible leaders take stands and rise to the occasion, and many show their true colors as well. So many of us have come together who have probably never met, joined forces because of their choices and the unpopular path to be the voices of those that don't feel heard, to choose compassion and fight for what is right. I have seen some incredible leaders emerge through the rental crisis and the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. They formed coalitions, Facebook groups, teams, and they went street by street meeting the needs of many. Selfless to the point of exhaustion. One right here earned $35,000 to feed people that were in need. One other whose daughter or whose son died 2 months ago, couldn't even get out of bed, has fed so many people between here to Fort Myers, it's insane. Having a servant's heart is what true leadership is about, and it requires selfless commitment. It means standing in integrity even if you stand alone. It sometimes is unpopular and sometimes despised, but it means speaking truth and standing by it even if it means you go down with the ship.
Thank you.
Your next speaker is B.B. Cantor. She'll be followed by Jackie Key.
Hi, not to be outdone in the humor section by Gary, I pointed out to him and he said he did remember this watch was broken and I bought it at a thrift store. It's a designer watch and I recycled it. Always true to the cause. And I wanted to talk about how grateful I am that David Silverberg finally had the courage to draft the proposal. And secondly, the anti-Semitism proposal. And also, as I continue, I want to say, and he knows who he is, I was so upset about the anti-Semitic comments directed towards me during my campaign and even before because of my long-term advocacy for affordable housing. I guess Rick LaCastro didn't know that I'd been in the business since I was 20 years old, and I'm now 69. But in any case, this is an apology because somebody said something to me which I think he didn't realize would have me freak out. And I'm not looking at him, but I have to offer an apology as I continue because there's other people who I think I deserve an apology from. It's been a very lonely campaign for me as the only Democrat and the only Jew and the only outspoken person about affordable housing and the need for resiliency in our community. And now I'm just going to speak as a Jewish person. I really was upset after some of the comments were directed to me and then when things went really wild during the primary. And so I asked the sheriff, Rambosk, to allow me to stand near sheriff's deputies during the controversial meetings. He said he didn't have anything to offer me until I was hurt. Very good comment. He said I should hire private protection, which I cannot afford to do. But I continued to go to all meetings, as you all know. So I don't think that was, I think I should be owed an apology. A second apology, which I know I deserve, is that I asked the county manager to defer any important subjects on Yom Kippur. And she said that that was irrelevant and she denied my request. It took the Jewish community to speak to all of you before you offered to do that as a courtesy. That's all I have to say.
Your next speaker is Jackie Key. She'll be followed by Haley Shapiro.
Good morning. I've always been a voracious reader. I especially love reading and listening to classic literature and poetry. One of my favorite books is The Count of Monte Cristo, which was written by Alexandre Dumas, a Black Frenchman, and he also wrote The Three Musketeers as well as The Man in the Iron Mask. The theme that enthralled me the most about this book is that of justice. So what is justice? This is the official definition of justice: fairness, moral rightness, a scheme or system of law which every person receives his or her just due. Here is my first question. Are all members of our community receiving equal dues from county resources and leadership? Why are you settling for less? And this is to the audience. Why are you settling for less? Why are you not demanding more rights as certain community members? You are being conditioned to ask for and to accept less. So, based on the Declaration of Independence, I have a few excerpts I'd like to read. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So that means that as a voter, these individuals up here do not have power unless I give it to them. The power is yours, it is not theirs. So you decide who is in leadership in the community. You decide who makes the decisions in the community. And when you give up your power to any person else, then you become enslaved to them. You give up your freedom, you give up your rights. That whatever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, leaving its foundation on such principle, organizing its power in such form as that them shall seem not likely to affect their safety and happiness. So again, this means that as individuals in this community, we have the power, we have to say and what goes on. We have so many people, I'm working class, I don't feel like you all care about me. I don't feel like you all care about the working class, those who are homeless, those who are displaced, those who cannot afford the living here. So ultimately, again, if you want leadership who will care about what you have to say and make the right decision that is best for the community, it is within your power to change that. Thank you.
Your next speaker is Haley Shapiro. She'll be followed by Alethea Shapiro. Am I saying that right? And
We'll make her pronounce it when she gets to the microphone.
thank you.
First of all, I just want to thank you all for allowing speakers. I feel like it's really important to hear the views of the public. My name is Haley Shapiro. I'm a junior at Barron Collier, and I have come here today to say I fully endorse the resolution condemning anti-Semitism in all forms and expressions. I moved to Naples about 15 months ago from New York with my parents and my 3 siblings. My last name Shapiro should give away the fact that my father is Jewish, and we are an interfaith family, my mother being Catholic. But we, obviously, like I said, we're Jewish, and we celebrate lots of Jewish traditions, and it's just a big part of who I am. I'm from Long Island, which is has a lot of Jewish people who live there, including my town, which was predominantly Jewish, And most people around us knew the history of the Jewish people, the Holocaust, and what is right and wrong when discussing a person's background. In light of new anti-Semitic comments made by Kanye, a popular rapper, I anticipate a rise in hate speech towards Jewish people, considering he's a very influential person. I fear that this will motivate people in this town, especially teens, a lot of his demographic, to make comments to the small Jewish population here in Naples, as well as to Jewish people worldwide. But this has already been happening. In my year living here, I've already heard of and witnessed this. For example, a comment made towards my sister from a boy said, "She's leading me on, Jew." I don't really understand the correlation between the two. But another thing happened to me. I was sitting in class this spring minding my business when a picture was airdropped to my phone. It was a picture of a fellow Jewish student with his face photoshopped onto a concentration camp prisoner, the ones with the striped uniforms. There was a caption attached to it: "First day at camp, wish me luck. I was just shipped to Poland, and you might hate me, but can not see me bothered," or not see me bothered. I don't know. But it was a play on words with Nazi. My stomach honestly sunk. people texted me saying that it was a joke and he didn't mean it, but it wasn't funny at all. While I did bring this to the attention of my school and it was dealt with on a personal level, what was lost was yet another opportunity to use these episodes as examples to teach students how the language of divisiveness could be harmful and wrong. Unfortunately, the school informed me that really not much could be done because of new laws being passed by the Florida government. That's certainly regrettable, and I hope that we can use opportunities like these to, as a community, get smarter on these issues and to help make our community more inclusive, safer, and happy for all of its citizens. Once again, I wanted to show support for this anti-Semitism resolution, and I think it's a good first step to help eradicate hate speech from our community. Thank you.
Don't go away. Commissioner Taylor, you want to address her or just have a comment?
You gave me the information. This happened here in Collier
Yeah.
County.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say how impressed I am that you were here.
Thank you.
Not only here, but here on crutches.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that I, as one commissioner, have no tolerance for that kind of activity. And I am going to bring this up to the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mother, whose name shall be...
Alethea Shapiro will be followed by Daniel Zegarek.
Good afternoon. My name is Aletha Shapiro. I'm here to talk about the proclamation condemning all forms of hatred and bigotry. As a woman of color and a mother of 4 who lives in an interracial and interfaith home, this topic hits home for me. Before I moved my family from New York last year, we had a sign on our lawn that said, "Hate has no home here." So did many other New Yorkers and storefronts. I may not know everything since moving a year ago, but here's what I do know. Does hate have a home in Collier County? In the 1 year since I moved from New York to Naples, my 2 daughters have told me about several comments that were made to them or in front of them that were anti-Semitic. This June, a series of leaflets containing a variety of anti-Semitic statements were dropped off on driveways in Naples. We have a Collier County School Board candidate, Tim Moshier, who endorsed his campaign managers discussing anti-Semitic social media videos. We have religious fanatics who are hyper-focused on targeting our LGBT community, making their lives even more difficult than they already are. We have an African-American congressman who proclaims that America is not a racist nation. Well, evidently, he hasn't spent enough time talking to his constituents in the Black and brown communities who suffered disproportionately from Hurricane Ian because of climate injustice and systemic racism. Through my hurricane relief, I was told countless stories by Black and brown community members of how they have been treated as inferior, who have told me they were treated as animals, and several who have been on the receiving end of many, many racist insults and behaviors in Naples. We have a governor who capitulates to the fragility of a large portion of his base who are insistent on teaching the whitewashed version of American history to make themselves feel better, who care more about having their egos comforted rather than wanting their children to know better so they can do better and be better. Here's what I don't know. I don't know how elected officials are allowed and think it appropriate to legislate based on their religious beliefs. How some churchgoers can preach about Christianity and Jesus and loving thy neighbor, but their actions reflect the complete opposite, demonstrating hatred and exclusiveness and utter hypocrisy. It is a shame that we need a proclamation to state the obvious, but evidently this message on hate having no home here isn't getting through to a vile segment of our Collier County community. And that's because it's rubber stamped by our current elected officials, our members of Congress, senators, our governor, and former twice impeached President Trump. Winston Churchill said, "Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." Well, folks, we are at an inflection point in our country, ushered in, welcomed, and promoted by prominent leaders that hatred and bigotry do indeed have a home here. Right before our very eyes, we are watching history repeat itself. If you ever wondered what you would have done during the slavery, the Holocaust, or the Civil Rights Movement, you're doing it now. Silence is violence. Speak up. When you see something, say something. Thank you for approving this proclamation. It's a necessary step in the right direction and is much appreciated by marginalized communities. Thank you.
Your next speaker is Daniel Zegarek, and he will be followed by Ashley Jenkins.
Thank you, and good morning.
Dan, fix the microphone so you can just stand right up there. There you go.
Bend down.
BB was shorter than you.
Yeah, she is. Nobody's going to accuse me of speaking too quickly, too fast. I'm very slow and deliberate. I just want to suggest something to the board, Mr. Chairman, that I hope you guys will consider. This is, you know, obviously it's not your dad's Collier County or Naples. It's not your grandfather's Collier County or Naples. It's a modern, you know, it's a modern right now place that has experienced a lot of growth. Even me, I've only been here 2 years full-time. I came down here for 11 years part-time before that, but just, you know, so many things have changed so quickly. And sometimes I think that things have to change along with the times. July 12th stays in my mind for a good reason. It was your last meeting before a 2-month summer break. Mr. McDaniel and Mr. LaCastro asked at that time, you know, do you guys want to forego it? You know, and I don't remember your exact words or verbiage, but it seems like, you know, and hindsight's 20/20. I think you should get rid of the summer break. I think that should go away. And along with that, I also think that you guys don't meet enough. I don't think you know, there's too many pieces, parts, people, and projects going on to just meet twice a month even. There's way too much happening. I hope that you'll take my suggestions seriously. If you were my board, or if I was in a position where you would oversee my $2 billion a year company, I want you to hear more about the company. You know, I want to know, you know, more things about what's going on. And I know I'm talking like from the 40,000 foot level, okay? You're going to talk about, you know, talking to your constituents. I'm going to need just a couple more seconds. I realize that you guys talk to your constituents in community groups. Rick, I know you do it a lot, and that's great. And I know a lot of you are in touch with staff. I think that's good too. But somewhere along the line, I think you need to change what you're doing. And this is just one of the things that I have to say, and I don't want to give you any whys right now, but I would hope that you know, that would happen. So,
Thank you, Daniel.
yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
Anybody have any questions? I'll stay up here if you want to.
I think we're good.
Your next
Okay.
speaker is Ashley Jenkins. She'll be followed by Shelley, is it McKernan?
Good morning, commissioners. Ian gave us a ride, right? It was a fun time. I was in the downtown area and saw some of the surge that came in, and even though it was an impact, I've done very well right now, but I know a lot of people are still hurting. But I'm here to discuss our waterways with our county commission. And I had a brief opportunity to talk to Commissioner McDaniels at break, and I'm aware that we've got a lot of county personnel and city personnel who are tasked with taking care of this right now. But I would ask for the public attention on this matter, and I look forward to presenting my formal petition November 8th. But until that date, many in our community are unaware of the concerns that are present, such as the flesh-eating bacteria, amongst other harmful substrates upon beaches and in waterways. I have taken action to address the city notices, yet as we enter the season and we face tourists visiting our county beaches, I will request that signs pointing to beach visitors to our local testing websites be published at entrances. It recently came to my attention that safe notices are being published as of 10/17, or the date of reporting is from prior to Ian. Asbestos, carcinogens, amidst other pathogens have been found up and down the coast and in the Gulf, which translates into the sand. And I, like many, I have a love and care for our local beaches, and I empathize with fellow residents and visitors. That being said, each person needs awareness that Florida is facing the largest red tide bloom of Carina brevis to date. Lethal concentrations of this dinoflagellate can result in death as low as 12 hours as a result of respiratory and cardiac arrest. Aerosolized organisms along our coastlines and riverways cause respiratory irritation, coughing, headaches, and inflammation of the eyes, the nasal mucus, or allergies. Now, no vegetation, no shells, and little to no presence of aquatic life ought to be indicators that our coastal waters are not safe. I request that the board take action with the departments to publicize the resources and the risks to the public and remind the public that the water is constantly moving. So though a sample might be taken and it might say that it's safe within 5 minutes, 10 minutes because it's fluid water, it could not be safe. I thank you all for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Ashley.
Mr. Chairman, your final registered speaker on item 7 is Shelley McKernan.
Hello, good morning. My name is Shelley McKernan. I'm here to represent the water. I am a volunteer with Collier County Waterkeeper, and we test the water for the enterococci bacteria that the county does as well. And lately, we have some conflicting results. And so I just request the county to be providing a little bit more information to the public other than just referencing to a website. People are concerned and they have a lot more questions and they want to know more. It's something that they are interested in. The Vibrio vilnificus and other bacterial contamination in our water and on the sand, it's present. There's not signs at every beach entry that is stating this, and if someone gets sick or injured while at the beach or another waterway, who is liable for that injury? In addition, there's major waste, toxins, and fertilizers that are still entering the water every day, even the same way it did before Hurricane Ian. And I hope that we can find ways to lessen these contaminants and help all the sea creatures. In addition, I am also known as Sea Shelley Mermaid. I inspire humans of all ages to spread kindness, be brave, and share their talents, and I do so through mermaid entertainment and performance. So I would like to end with a poem that my dad wrote, and it's called Clean Water. The vast oceans, the 7 seas, and the great lakes are here to please, and so are our rivers, creeks, and ponds, and without them, they would all be gone. They supply a great thing that's essential to Earth, and if we want to exist, we must value their worth and protect them from damage by keeping them clean. This Earth needs your help. Please join our clean water team. My name is Sea Shelley, and I'm happy to be the mermaid who teaches the youngsters I see about protecting this great Earth's vital waters so they will be enjoyed by their own future sons and daughters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, C. Shelley. All right. Do you want to go to lunch? All right. We will be back at 1:03.